What's up, guys? It's the Essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Nova Lee.
And you guys are tuned into Caught
in Conversation.
Shaka laka laka.
Welcome to episode 142. We're here with the special guest today. Also technically our co-host for this episode, all the way from the Great White North. He is the awesome Shaun Johnson. How are you today, buddy?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks.
What's it like? Because I know it's winter for you guys. What's the weather like at the moment there?
Right now we got about 2 feet of snow and it's minus 14 Celsius. And it's freaking beautiful.
See, this has been, I think it's about 30 degrees today, which is probably the coolest it's been in weeks.
It actually feels nice.
It's
weird.
overcast and it's a little bit muggy, but it's actually, there's a breeze, and I'm it's just so weird because it was 36 the other day and I was sweating balls because our aircon is half broken, but it's just so weird that Sean's literally oh God, look at all this snow, and I'm fuck you.
My Narnia.
But again, as I was just saying to you off air, with the time zones, it still boggles me. Everyone's white Christmases are overrated, and I'm yeah, but I want just one. I just want one.
Yes.
Everybody needs to experience a white Christmas once.
I think legitimately, I've seen snow probably about 10 times in my whole life. But in terms of it, actually setting enough to, I've never built a snowman, but with the potential to build a snowman, it's probably happened twice in my whole life.
I never had that. We've always had to drive to somewhere that has snow because we never had it at home.
Where I'm originally from, Goulburn, I remember there was one day, it was 2013 or 2014. It was just before I moved. And I remember I woke up at 6 a.m. and everyone's it's snowing. And I was yeah, fuck, all right, I've got a window, I'll look out. And I was oh shit, it's snowing. It looked like a Christmas movie. And obviously it was literally a spring in Australia. It was bordering on to summer. It was October, November. It was just the most random thing. And I've ran outside and I'm in singlets and singlets and boxer shorts because the night before I was sweating like a sumbitch. And all of a sudden, there's just a few feet of snow, and me and my sister, because we lived next door to each other at the time, literally, it was a scene from a movie. We simultaneously walked outside our front doors, and we're oh, hello, good morning. And I'm just oh my God, it's so fucking cold, because I'm just standing there in boxer shorts with all the snow around me. I was what is happening right now?
That's great.
I remember my mum lives at the Snowies, so she semi-gets it. But again, it doesn't really set. It just kind of passes because she's so close. But when I was living there, I remember my brother was on the trampoline, and he's literally going to dive on the trampoline. And I'm just oh God, this is going to be interesting because the trampoline's fucking frozen. He literally took one step, felt the cold snow, and went, fuck this, and he was literally 8 or 9 years old, and he's ran back inside.
Oh,
that
sounds like what we do with our first snowfall. Go run out in your underwear and then right back in.
Yeah, I was just okay. And then you send me those photos where it's deep, and I'm my God, it's something from a movie.
Yeah.
But Nova, would you like to keep this rolling before I start ranting about the weather?
Yeah.
So we're doing things a bit different than we usually do. So we're quickly run through...
No, it's okay.
So we're going to quickly run through the song and match of the week, and then we'll jump into the conversation. We're just doing our intro now.
Yeah, this is essentially the intro.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. We're going through the Core 5, but we're also breaking down a topic, which is Saturday night's main event. Spoiler alert. So it's kind of it's almost a 2-for-1, and it's also a bonus episode because we had one in the pipeline already. So this will just drop the day before the regular episode. So it's going to be a lot of information that hopefully doesn't have me going on ADHD rants. Although if mine and Sean's text and messages or anything to go by, this could This could spur anything. This is going to go 3 hours of us not even talking about what we're meant to talk about.
Well, we got the two of us with the ADHD happening, so hey. Wouldn't shock me.
So then there's the three of us.
Just say something out of nowhere and Teak will be like, that reminds me of you let me tell you.
That reminds me of 1922.
Like, I won't go into it, but like I asked Teak about like the whole Carlito thing where they edited out the line about him saying he had to learn Chinese and then Japanese. And I was just like, look, as a semi-casual fan, Teak, what's your opinion about this? And we ended up ranting for like 40 minutes just about cancel culture, and I was just like, oops, that should have been a 2-second question.
Yeah, that won't happen with me. That's great.
So the song of the week rather, for episode 142 is Roadhammer by the Roadhammers, picked by John to both pop and troll you, Shaun, at the same time.
The only country music group he told me that he will listen to.
Yep.
And then the match of the week is Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff. I'm going to butcher that. In a steel cage match at SNME, January 3rd, 1987, picked by you, Shaun, and filmed on December 14th, 1986.
Yes. It was filmed almost
I'm sorry for picking that one.
No, I just was like, I did not practice his name beforehand, and I wasn't sure of him, and I was like,
he's like, this isn't actually the best match, but at the same time, I feel it told a good story, because, spoiler alert, like, you can't find it unless you have, I don't even know if it's on, like, any versions of the network anymore, but I have the DVD of the best of Saturday Night's Main Event, and it's on there, but the actual version that's online starts with Hogan's entrance. Orndorff's already in the ring. But Orndorff actually came out to Hogan's music as like a heel thing, which I think that may have been the first time that was ever done. So that's cool. But spoiler alert, it ends in a draw. Both men hit the floor at the same time in 1987/86 because it was filmed a few weeks earlier. Surely that had to be the first time that happened. Like, that's happened so many times now, but I don't remember that. Like,
that was the first finish, though. They ended up restarting the match.
Yeah, that's right, because Hogan ends up going over clean, doesn't he, after that? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so but what bothered me about that was, like, the first 6 minutes leading up to that was great. Watching Orndorff work the neck, all that fun stuff. Everything after, I don't know if you went back and watched it, but for the first 12 minutes, there's not a single wrestling move done. Then Orton hits the short arm clothesline, okay, fine. 15.5-minute mark at the finish, Hogan hits an atomic leg drop, and then he climbs out of the cage, showing the lack of talent he had.
See, I completely, because like I did skim through the clip of that just to make sure like I had the right match and da-da-da-da. But yeah, like I forgot that they restarted the match. I didn't rewatch the whole thing. I literally got to the bit where they both hit the floor at the same time, which again, pretty sure that was the first time it was done. And because Orndorff came out to Hogan's music started playing, and it was like, they both came out to the same song. So who won? Why are they playing that music? And I thought that was brilliant. But yeah, I literally turned it off at that bit. I forgot that, fuck. See, that just ruins it for me now, because I was like, I'm ready to defend this. But yeah, I've completely forgot that they restarted the match. Fucking Hogan. My God.
Yeah. Can't even let Orndorff tie him.
You could have just had it end in a draw. Would have been fun. My God. Now I'm pissed off. Because I just went through like...
There was the solid reason behind picking that match, though, right? I remember 3 years old, that's the first exposure I had to wrestling. Watching Hogan go to the ring, that was it right there. And the only thing I remember is Hogan walking to the ring in that blue cage.
Yeah, and the reason
from that moment, here I am.
The reason you picked that match, and then the reason we've gone from that is it ties in quite easily to the question. You kind of brushed over it there, but Nova, if you'd like to open this up for Shaun properly, and we can get into this conversation and just, I feel like there's going to be a lot of marking out in this conversation, which Shaun is one who's like me, that very strong when it comes to like when you're scrolling through Facebook and someone will say something and some dude comes along and he's like, "You're a fucking mark," and da da da. It's not a bad thing, and this conversation is going to be a lot of that. We are proud of who we are, and that is okay.
Oh, definitely. I don't care.
So jumping into the first question of our core 5, it just is, what is your earliest wrestling memory, Shaun?
They kind of glossed over
Hulk Hogan and...
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I remember was, like I said, the Hogan coming to the ring. Hogan versus Orndorff in that cage. I don't even remember. I think the next memory after that would be Shawn Michaels putting Jannetty through the barber shop, or Bobby Heenan dog napping Matilda. Those, like, and there's another good story that could possibly be told, but we'll wait.
That makes sense to me, because you've quite often, when talking about Bobby the Brain or something, you always come back to that. No, that son of a bitch dog napped Matilda the Bulldog.
Yep, still pissed at him for that. Still.
So kind of following on from
and knowing that...
Oh, sorry, you go.
And knowing that he doesn't care that I'm still pissed at him for that, it makes it even that much better.
I feel like if he was still here with us, that would pop him so much if he was to ever hear that story of, you made me sad when I was like, 2 foot tall, and I'm still mad at you for it.
Well, I got to have that moment with him, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. The one Video On Demand came into Canada. I won a little private meet and greet. I got to meet him, Piper, and Mean Gene Okerlund. There's only like 75 of us there. So when I went up to him, I was like, "I'm still pissed at you for dog napping Matilda." He was like, "Okay." So he literally signed his picture. "I don't give a F if you're still pissed at me. I'd do it again knowing so." Bobby Heenan.
That is cool. that is amazing. You've probably told me that before, but it just in the moment, my ADHD brain isn't sounding familiar. But dude, that's a pop right there. But what a group of guys, though, like Piper himself. Oh, yeah, I've been stabbed 7 times. It was awesome. You go for number 8. It's like, Roddy, you're 60-odd years old. Please calm down.
I couldn't get a word out to him other than thank you. I was so starstruck standing in front of him.
But even Mean Gene, though, like, if I had the chance to meet him, I'd still mark out for Gene. Because, like, how many iconic moments, especially it's Saturday night's main event, which we're going to talk about, but, like, just in general... that Mean Gene was like always the middleman of all of the little... Man, if I could be half as talented as Mean Gene, I think I'll be all right. Maybe that's going to be my goal. I'll add it to my list of nicknames. He has 1/4 of the talent of Mean Gene Okerlund.
Give yourself more than that. I mean, you pissed me off, so...
There's been a few times where I'm like, yeah, I don't know, and Shaun's just like, motherfucker.
So following on from that first question, when did you discover that indie wrestling existed, and when did you go to your first event? I know you've been to quite a number of shows over the years there in Canada, but yeah.
My first one, I'd have to look it up again, but it was in Sudbury, Ontario. I got Isaac Yankem versus Bret Hart.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Undertaker was there, but I really don't remember who he wrestled. And it was HBK versus Sid in the main event for the title.
Oh, so it was like a WWF like house show?
Yeah, a little house show. Yep, house show. $11 for my ticket.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yep.
When did you first see indie wrestling in Canada, Shaun?
The first indie show was Canadian Combat Championship C4.
Yes, I love
it.
C4.
It was
got some great stuff.
Yeah, that was where I was introduced to Josh Alexander and Ethan Page. That was in 2013. That was their home in Ontario.
That's a pretty big stretch between seeing, that all those people at a WWF house show to, fast forwarding almost 30 years.
Well, the thing is, though, I lived in Sudbury like getting WWF at that time, that was unheard of for a small town like that to get it, small city like that. So I didn't move to Toronto until I was 16.
Okay, yep.
And at that time there was only two organizations, WWF and WCW. Like, unless you were in the know about the indie stuff that was randomly around there, like you wouldn't know about it.
And all of the
all
that stuff back then.
Yeah, I grew up in that area.
That's still,
and then all of a sudden there was a boom. Yeah.
Like, especially like Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, like, especially where they both are now. But I, through the power of the internet, the first time I ever saw Mustafa Ali actually was through C4 Wrestling. I don't know what event, I couldn't even tell you who he faced. They've actually got a best of just from C4 of Mustafa Ali on IWTV. They've got a best of Kevin Steen as well. But it was just, I was scrolling through Facebook or Twitter or whatever it was in maybe I think it was about 2016, 2017. I think it was like just before the Cruiserweight Classic. And like people were like, oh, there's like, I think he was going by Prince Mustafa or something at the time on the indies in the US. I don't know if he was actually doing it at C4, but it was just like, oh, here's this, 2 or 3 minute highlight package of Mustafa Ali in C4. And I was just like, I don't know what C4 is, but goddamn, like this is, like it's such good shit though. Like this dude was just fucking awesome.
I also got Speedball Bailey and Michael Elgin in Elgin's last match there. And that match alone, that put me into indie wrestling. Like, that was probably one of the top 5 matches I've ever seen.
Oh, well, there you go. That's one that's probably going to come back up later in the conversation then when we get to that. But
yeah,
dude, that's kind of crazy though. Like to have like, because that's a completely different shift though. Like obviously the business has evolved, but so my first ever wrestling show, I was. And I've said this a few times, and I think this is where it's come, because everyone's like, yeah, I'll come watch you, and then they don't come watch you. When I was a kid, if it wasn't like WWE or TNA or, obviously WCW, but it had folded by that point, same as ECW, I'm like, if it wasn't WWE or TNA, I was like, I don't want to watch that. That's not real wrestling. So I've missed quite a number of wrestling shows that I could have seen over the years. But yeah, my first ever live show wasn't until 2012. And I'd been a fan, obviously, I turned 18 at the end of 2012. I'd been a fan for 14 years of my life at that point. But that's just kind of crazy when you go from, hey, here's this little WWF show with all of these guys to, hey, here's this indie show with all these guys doing basically a completely different style, really. Like,
yeah.
Did you know what you were getting into when you went to that show, or?
Absolutely not. I found tickets. I was just looking. I had extra money, and I was like, "Okay, let's see if there's any indie shows tonight." So I looked it up. Found that one was like a 10-minute walk from where I live. So I was like, "Let's go check it out for $25."
I mean, look, why not?
And that was probably yeah. I had my digital camera, so I was still learning some professional photography. That was an amazing experience doing that. So yeah, that was definitely blew my mind.
I'm sure that'll
open my eyes to a whole new world.
I'm sure that'll possibly open up some bonus questions from Nova later. She absolutely loves photography and stuff like that. But that's kind of cool though. Like to say that Josh Alexander and Ethan Page and as you said, Mike Bailey and the run that he's on now has been insane. After I feel so bad for that dude. Like I think it was a visa issue or something. And he got banned because of it from the US for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, man.
Like, the fact that he hasn't slowed down in the 11 years since I first seen him is incredible in itself.
But he's another one, though, where, again, I think it was actually C4 where I was, like, seeing clips, like, being shared around on socials. And I was like, who is this guy? And he's doing, like, the shooting star knee press and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, that's just blown my mind though. Like I guess as you said, it depends on location and stuff like that. But from seeing a WWF event in a small town as it is, like even with Australia when NXT came, they did a couple of smaller towns, and even just that was like nothing ever comes here. WWE's coming here. It's not like the main guys, but it was still attached. But the fact that you got a house show with all of the names that that you actually mentioned is
that I was growing up with. Yeah. And then even now, even living in Elite Lake, we get CWE, right? Canadian Wrestling Elite. And even though it's like 200 people, it feels like 68,000 sometimes. It's insane.
But again, some of the guys they've toured with, like, there's a full documentary. I need to watch it at some point. But they did a documentary when they brought Jake Roberts with them. But like so many guys that they've brought out with them, including Cowboy James Storm, who Shaun actually got me a shout out on my birthday of all things. It was the 22nd down under, but it was my birthday over in Canada on the day that it happened. And the best part is, and Shaun will probably bring it up, but I don't know if I've told Nova this. He was so nervous that the beer bottle that Shaun got signed, it says to John. So at some point when I'm back on my feet after these medical bills piss off, I'm gonna have to get something that says to Shaun and send it to him.
That's freaking great.
But like, the people that they're bringing over for, again, like I've been following them. I found them through you, but like I've been following them for quite a number of years now. And, like, I'm even getting excited. It's like, oh, my God, dude, like, you know, I don't know. They haven't announced date yet, but did you see they've announced this guy? Like, are they going to be talking? Like, you going to? And he's just like, fuck, they're not coming to me. And I'm like, oh, that sucks.
To give the context, too, right? We're a 11,000 populated town literally in the middle of the forest. So when they come here, it's kind of a big deal for us. And we're getting names like Carlito, James Storm, Eric Redbeard. Like, we're getting these big names, and it's exciting.
A lot of the local guys, though, like, dude, I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Mentalo? Mentalo.
Yeah.
Again, I found him through that. But, like, that dude, I've been following him for years now. Like, I've probably never going to get the chance to witness him wrestle live. But, like, I've become such a big fan of that dude. Just because of you, and because, like, obviously, you know, privacy reasons, we won't say his name, but because your son, you know, had the mask when he was a kid, I'm just like, it's just the power of, so this is the good side of social media.
That dude is massive, too.
Yeah, like, I saw a photo that you put up, or I don't know, it might have even been a video, but it was something that you put up from one of the events you went to. And I was just like, holy shit, like, because I'd seen some of his clips, but I think because, like, you were in the crowd and it was, like, more close up and, like, from a more personal, like, point of view, I was like, that dude is fucking jacked. And it was just blew my mind because for some reason when I first saw a photo of him, I saw the mask and all that, and I think I was just expecting him just to be, like, a flippy, like, lucha guy. And then I'm like, oh, my God, like, he actually has, like, washboard abs. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But okay, obviously, like, the main reason we're here, Shaun, is, as you said, you're like, you'd been nervous to do it, but you're like, Saturday night's main event kind of kickstarted it all. You know, I don't know if it's going to be a full-on reboot, but they're bringing it back this coming weekend as we record this. This episode's going to drop the day before it airs. But there's been a lot of great memories, and I was hoping to actually grab the DVD just for my own visual, just so I could go through some of the matches that were listed on the back of it, but it's all the way over the other side of the room. I forgot. But what are some of your favorite, personal favorite Saturday night's main event moments? Because I've written down a couple of mine, and Nova, there's some of these that she has probably seen, but I don't think it was, like, actively in the context of it's Saturday night main event. It's just stuff that she's watched either in passing with me or whatever reason.
Clips
but
on, like, social media and
but
stuff.
Like, what stands out when you think Saturday night's main event, besides, like, the cage match and a few other things, like, anything particular jumps into your mind when you hear the name Saturday night's main event?
Mean Gene, Jesse, Ventura, but DX versus the Spirit Squad in the elimination match. That one was a fun one to watch. And then the last one we had was Edge versus Jeff Hardy in a singles match where Edge beat one of your boys. Other than that, Bret Hart versus Papa Shango. I'm a huge mark for Papa Shango, still am today.
It's so funny of, like, how controversial that gimmick is over time, but, like, Charles himself is like, I had so much fun doing this. Why does everyone hate this?
I don't think people really understand what it's like when Papa Shango made Ultimate Warrior puke. Like, that was just something that I don't think any kid that watched it at that time, I guarantee you they remember that if they're not a fan now.
But again, even me watching it after the fact, the moment people say Papa Shango, that's one of the first things I think of. And like when like Warrior's face paint started to quote unquote melt, and like there was like all the black ooze coming through like the pores of his skin, and again like he started vomiting the black stuff as well, and I was just like, it's so hokey, but especially for that time of wrestling, it really, you go back and watch it, to me that still holds up. And I'm not even a fan of the Warrior, but it was really well done. Like the commitment that Papa Shango had to put a spell on Warrior, and like that whole unfolding thing, like that. I honestly, I would go back and watch that now and still get enjoyment out of it.
I've gone back enough times on that one, just because it is Warrior though now.
But in saying that, like there is a couple of great matches with Warrior on there. Like when he was the IC champ, he had a couple of matches with I think Rick Rude was one of them. But my brain is just like, yeah, these were all great matches, and let me list absolutely none of them. But yeah, when he was the IC champ, he had a few matches, and I think he defended the WWF championship against Andre at Saturday Night's Main Event as well. It could be
he did. I remember going through them because I was looking at the cards to try and see which ones I could actually possibly try and watch. And I guess because that little in a mark of me back when I couldn't like Warrior because I liked Hulk Hogan. But now that I don't like Hogan, I might go back and watch them.
It's kind of crazy though. Like when you go back, I see like with Warrior, I have trouble separating the person from the character now. But with Hogan, I'm like, I'll always get hyped when his music hits. There's rumors that he might be the guest host this weekend. And I'm like, look, I get it. But at the same time, I'm not going to be mad because it's Saturday Night's Main Event and it's very fitting. And even though like I've watched it, you know, I was born in 94, so I've watched it well after the fact, it still gives me nostalgia watching it back. And I'm just like, you know what? I kind of hope the rumors are true.
That's probably the part I'll skip, which I'll just walk out of the room when he's on. Those are the issues. You know why though, and I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like obviously, and we've talked about it on the show, kind of. I'm just like, look, Terry Bollea, not really, you know. But it's like, but I feel like to him, it's like with Warrior just changed his name and he was Warrior. Whereas I'm just like, look, Hulk Hogan didn't say those things. You could say Hulk Hogan said those things, but...
But he is, isn't he Terry Hulk Hogan Balboa?
Yeah, I think he may have even legally changed his name now at this point.
That's what I think. I'm pretty sure he did.
Just like... But no, like honestly, like I think the main two people would be Hogan and Warrior for a lot of those moments for the original incarnation. But again, so many of them stick out. Like I obviously, my dad used to always tell me the story about, obviously he was a big fan of Macho Man and Jake the Snake. Obviously Hulk Hogan was my dad's main guy, but he told me the story when I was probably like 4 or 5 about the time that Jake the Snake Roberts pulled out the Python, but Ricky the Steamboat pulls out the Komodo Dragon. And then like 10 years later, they released this DVD set with the best of Saturday Night's Main Event. And watching it, and that match is on there. Oh. And then re-watching that with my dad like all these years after he told me about it was just like again,
that's amazing.
Ricky Steamboat is one of my dudes. Like I feel like I was born in the wrong generation, but like I could go back and watch that now. Like Ricky Steamboat was my dude, and seeing that for the first time and just like literally running to the other room and being like, I think I was 14, 15, possibly 16 at the time. It was mid to late 2000s that they released the DVD set, I think. So it was bordering on me being anywhere between 13 and 16. But like I'm literally running to the next room, being like, "Oh my god, Dad! Like, is this what you would like? Come have a look at this." And then him being like, "Hey, you better fucking rewind this. I want to watch this with you." And then like re-watching that with him and just watching him like
That's
seeing
awesome.
the gears tick of him basically go through his childhood all over again. Well, not childhood, but like early.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I was just like, yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Is as soon as I say here Saturday Night Main Event is Ricky Steamboat and the Komodo Dragon, just always.
I'm gonna have to add that. because I didn't realize that's where it was. I totally forgot that, so I'm going to have to add that to my list as well.
And then, like, the twin referees, you know, rest in peace, Dave Hebner. But Earl Hebner, a lot of people, obviously, different time. The internet didn't exist. Cell phones weren't a thing. I know people listening to this are going to think that's fucking horrifying. Man, if I didn't have to promote this podcast and my brand, I probably wouldn't even have social media at this point. But, like, it was Dave Hebner, in quotation marks on an audio podcast. It was Dave Hebner as the referee, but it was actually Earl, his twin. And all of a sudden, he was being bad. He was favouring Andre the Giant. And there was the count where Hogan kicked out at 1, but the referee counted to 3. And then all of a sudden, there was 2 referees. And they looked alike. And one of them was an evil twin, and it was like, that's some genius stuff. I don't care whether you're a wrestling fan or whether you're not. Like, that is some cinema type stuff, and it's hokey. But I go back and watch that clip when it pops up. It's like, you know, on this day in history, this happened, and you've got the face off between the 2 brothers, and it's like if you look close enough, you can just see it. But it's like, dude, they are legit almost identical. And it's like, it's such a cool visual.
It was. Jeez, I forgot about that one too.
I think the biggest one for me, though, and I don't even know if it counts, because it actually happened on a Friday, not a Saturday, because it was on the main event for whatever reason. But this is one that, Nova, you have seen, where the Mega Powers are facing, I think it was Bossman and Akeem?
Hakeem.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Elizabeth gets knocked down and she gets hurt, so Hogan leaves the match and he carries her backstage because Elizabeth's hurt. She sprained her ankle. She needs medical attention, brother. And then later in the show is when Macho Man finally flips out. He literally, it's so funny because he's like so worried about Elizabeth's well-being that he dives over the top of her, over her bed, so that he can nail Hogan because he had lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. You're trying to make moves for Elizabeth while she's down. And then just obviously that whole Mega Powers imploding. Like, again, I don't know if that counts because it was actually on a Friday, not a Saturday. But that particular week, it just fell in a different slot. But that to me, when I think Saturday night's main event, that's the big one that pops out is just the Mega Powers. And the funny thing is, you watch it back, it kind of comes out of nowhere. But then in the grand scheme of the feud, it actually made so much sense because you're like, Elizabeth was getting a little bit close to Hulk Hogan.
It looks like it, yeah. We kids might not have seen it, but the adults definitely did.
I still remember, and you kind of touched on it before with the Edge Jeff Hardy match, but when they tried to reboot it between late 2005 and early to mid 2007, maybe even in 2008, that's probably some of my more favorite stuff. I actually, when I was writing this, I forgot about the Spirit Squad match, which is a good shout. That was the one when they got locked in the cage, wasn't it? Where it was like the 5-on-2. Was that Saturday's main event? Yeah,
they get eliminated and locked up so they can't interfere.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that one when I was writing them down. But that's a good one. But like the Shawn Michaels, Shane McMahon street fight leading into Mania 22, and they recreated the Montreal screw job with Shane putting Shawn in the sharpshooter. I think that exact same episode, there was the Stone Cold JBL drinking competition where they did it back to back, and JBL is just pouring them out. Obviously, he eats a stunner for his trouble. And then even, I remember, so this was early 2007, so I would have been, I think, if I've got my dates right, I would have been 12 just before I turned 13. And it was the very first incarnation of the John Cena-Randy Orton feud. And he sets the chair up so it's in like a sitting position, like someone's going to sit on it. And then he like does like a running RKO across the chair. And it's like a spot that he's done it a few times since. But that was the first time Orton had ever done that. And to me, like, I was so torn because it was the coolest thing I'd seen. But as 12-year-old John, I was like, that's John Cena and Randy Orton's a piece of shit. Why would you do that? It's still real to me, damn it.
You sound like my nephew at that time because he was about that age
just
too.
Like the visual of like Orton standing over him and the chair's still standing up, but it's like it's all bent and crumpled, and you're just like, this son of a bitch, that's the most evil thing I've ever seen. And then like you watch it back and it's the most basic fucking spot, but I think that's where the storytelling aspect of that comes in. He just broke John Cena's neck, by God.
Yep. Well, was that JR too calling it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was JR and King, and it was like that son of a bitch. John Cena's trying to compete out here. You that snake. I think that was the early incarnation of him slowly going from being the Legend Killer to the Viper. It's like that slimy, slippery eel or something like that. And then, like, I'm just watching it at my friend's house, like, this is bullshit, because we randomly got it on a tape delay, so it didn't even air on the Sunday. It aired the day after. It was a Monday afternoon for us that we're watching it, and we're, like, watching it after school, and I'm like, no!
Yeah, jeez. I'm realizing I've forgotten so much.
It's just so crazy, because I remember when you were putting the match of the week together, when I was like, hey, look, me and Nova are going to... But basically just shirk responsibility and say, you pick the match of the week, and you're like, oh, some of these are a lot worse than I remember. But like then at the same time, there's so many. I should have really grabbed the DVD so I could have gone through like the little insert on the cover of what was on that. But they managed to scrape 3 discs worth of stuff between matches and moments. So, but like no, like there's been so much.
Well, there was Hogan versus Terry Funk for the title. That one caught my eye. I'm pretty sure Hogan had a match with Jake on one as well.
Ooh, I don't know if it was because I keep getting confused because I thought the Cobra Bite was on Saturday Night's Main Event, but it was on Superstars. But I swear there is
no, the Superstars.
But there is some sort of, and again I can't remember what in what fashion. There is some sort of match or segment between Macho Man and Jake that I remembered, and I was like kind of getting confused, but I remember that being something I enjoyed as well. I think I think Jake versus Andre is actually even on there with a babyface Jake Roberts.
Yep.
Which is funny because, like, you know, Andre as the big giant was scared of snakes, but they use that as Andre. Like, Andre the Giant, of all 7'5", suddenly becomes a chicken shit heel because he's scared of a snake, which is kind of weird when you look at it because you're like, why is he a heel for being scared of the fucking snake? It's a snake.
And being that size, just stomp on its head.
I think even, I think I could be wrong, but I think actually where they quote unquote murdered the snake, that may have actually been Saturday Night's Main Event as well. One of the snake segments with Earthquake was on Saturday Night's Main Event. I don't know if it was the one where he actually squashed him or if it was the one where he was like cooking the burgers, quote unquote. But there was something to that as well. So like, it's just all this stuff now that I probably
remember that splash. Oh jeez.
To think like wrestling fans, like again, I watched it after the fact, but I was like 12, 13 when I saw it. I'm like, my dumbass thought they really got away with like all the animal rights stuff of murdering a snake on television, and then like hearing Bruce Pritchard talk about it when I was like, 25 years old, and they're like, oh yeah, we rolled up some hamburger meat and some pantyhose to make it look like a snake. I was like, that seems so obvious. Why did all this time? Yep. In my brain, I was just like, oh, they killed a snake for entertainment.
Well, hey, it took me forever before I realized that the cobra didn't actually bite Macho Man.
I mean, he still pierced the skin, but yeah, it's like
it was more of a rub.
Oh, I love that story that Jake tells about it, though. It's like, I know it's not Saturday Night Main Event related, but like, Macho Man in all his coked out paranoia was, you need to make sure that snake's devenomized. I want it to bite you right now. So then Jake's like, yeah, I beat the fuck out of this. I put the snake back in the bag and I beat the fuck out of it. So even though it was defanged, the first person it saw when it got out of that bag was Macho Man. And that sumbitch latched on. Like they're trying to pull it off, and like literally you see the blood slowly start to pull because it was literally clamped on, and it's like, oh, it still makes me squeamish when I go. I remember the first time I showed Nova that. And it was like, oh my god, that snake, like, it's not like full on like eating him, but like, for all intents and purposes, it is still like trying to nibble him. It's trying its best. Oh god.
Yep. Another childhood markout moment that stuck with me.
Is there anything particular, Nova, that you can think of from Saturday night's main event? I see you trying to have a think there,
not really. I don't think.
Because I know that I have shown you the one with like the twin referees and like the Macho
Just
Man
mainly trying to remember
turning on
because we've
Hogan.
gone through so much stuff.
I think I actually. It's funny that I forgot it because I think I actually did show you that DX match. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff here. But I'm going to let Nova ask the next part of her question, Sean. Otherwise, we're just going to start ranting and Nova's just going to sit here looking for no reason.
So kind of like on the flip side of all that, like what are some of the worst moments that you can remember from Saturday night main event?
Hogan versus Orndorff in the cage.
I like how it was like, yeah, this is going to do it. And then literally the message I got back was, it was like, y'all can still use it if you want, but what the fuck is this?
Oh, man.
But it did start off good, and then just the last half, it was like, what the fuck is this? Oh, there's one. Yeah, that one irritated me, but honestly, I don't remember. I'm trying to remember them. And the little things I can't remember off the top of my head. I went back to try and watch some of them, and I couldn't even get through a match.
I remember you were messaging me randomly, like, and I just loved it. It was completely out of context, but I knew what you were talking about. And you're just like, the fucking killer bees, man. And I'm just like, yeah.
That was the Coliseum home special video, though. That wasn't Saturday Night Event, but it was like, no, it was just after. It came on right after, but it happened the month before it. So, but yeah, it's just like, really, who the hell wins with a freaking drop kick?
See, like when the Rock and Roll
But the 80s was the golden era.
When the Rock and Roll Express were doing like the double drop kicks and the Rockers were doing the double drop kicks, it makes sense. But like for one guy to literally just drop down and then the other guy just hits a drop kick for the win, you're like, how is that a double team move? All the other guy did was lay down.
I think it was Justin Ventura. He was like the world's most deadliest drop kick. I was like, oh my god, really?
Hey, when you're on commentary, you got to make shit work, brother. It's like he didn't get all of it. It's like, kick out at 2 9/9. Perhaps if you had have got that flush, it would have got the victory. Oh, what the fuck was that? Trust me, it's hard sometimes, but you got to make do. I am really excited though for like the upcoming one. I don't know if it's the full show or what the setup is, but they've announced that Jesse Ventura is going to be the special guest color commentator, and that has me very, very excited.
I really hope we get heel Jesse Ventura.
I actually
just
said
for that nostalgia.
I said that to Nova. Wait, what's the day as we record this for us, Monday? It's 2 days ago as we were traveling and stuff. I was in the car with our friend C Factor, who's a wrestler here in Australia. He gave me a lift to our show, and we were talking about Saturday night's main event and how they've only announced 4 matches on the card on paper. I'm sure by the time this comes out, they'll add another 1 or 2 just to fill it out. But we're like, the card's so stacked, and we're like, you know what though? Jesse Ventura. And I'm like, I don't know if they're going to do 2-man, 3-man booth, because I'm like, on one hand, 3-man booth would be cool because I know Graves is like, bucket list for him is to work with Ventura. But I'm like, if we just have like Michael Cole, like straight-laced Michael Cole, just doing play-by-play with full-blown heel Jesse Ventura, just giving him like the worst time of his life. Like, that's all I want on commentary.
I was kind of hoping for Pat McAfee.
Oh, dude.
And beside Ventura, you have that old school Ventura beside the fandom of Pat McAfee. That could be so much fun.
Oh, there's so many different ways it could go. But no, I hope I'm 100% with you there where, like, yeah, we're all going to be like, yeah, it's funny as hell. But just in the context of kayfabe, brother, I want Jesse Ventura to just be cheering for all the heels.
Yeah.
And just, you know, just causing chaos, basically.
Yep. Take KO side.
Yes. Probably throw some pot shots in there about, well, his old man was a piece of garbage anyway. Just like, you can't say that about Dusty.
Lay off the cheeseburgers.
So, Jesse Ventura, what's your opinion on polka dots?
Oh God, I can see Cole doing that. Oh.
So the next question we've got is, what is your favourite match of all time, both that you've seen live and that you've seen in general, whether that be on TV or online, Shaun?
And again, he's seen a lot of shit live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
including a WrestleMania. So fuck this guy.
I have a thing where it's like I'm pretty sure I've forgotten what most people have seen. And like on TV, that has to go to Cena and HBK. That 45-minute live. I mean, Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18. I don't think you can get any bigger than that.
So here's a question for you.
Okay.
I don't think I've actually asked you this. Obviously, as a kid, you started as a massive Hogan mark. The reason why I have dubbed you as Shaun Johnson is just because that was my little rib of, because you're a massive mark for The Rock. You have like a little Brahma bull tattoo yourself.
Yep.
The whole thing of that WrestleMania, and I've actually talked about this exact storyline because it's funny to me that Hogan literally tried to murder The Rock. He drove a semi-trailer into a car that he was in inside kayfabe, and then comes to Canada, and because he hadn't been there for so long, all the Canadians were like, yeah, let's go Hogan, fuck her up. Being there live in person, who are you cheering for?
Yes.
Yeah. Next question.
Yes and or.
More so Rock, which was really agitating because I swear to God, my entire section was going for Hogan.
So Shaun may have been the only person in the building that was actually cheering for the Rock.
I swear though, like being in that crowd, it was more 50-50 than what it comes off on if you go back and watch it now.
Oh, really?
It really did feel, it did. But I don't know if it's just because of the atmosphere and being there. I don't know what it was, but it did feel like it was 50-50.
Like even just,
I wish I could find.
I was just gonna say, even just that face off though, like where they're looking at each other. How many highlight packages and videos and like intro like reels has just that split second, and even without the sound, you look at it and you're like, that it's that little thing, and they just can look at each other and they both kind of tilt their heads in opposite directions. Just like, I remember seeing that for the first time at like, 7, 8 years old. It was just after it had happened. It was only just after it had happened. Being like, oh my God, Hulk Hogan. And to me, he was Hollywood Hogan. That was when my first exposure to him was full-blown heel NWO Hogan. But it's like, oh my God, Hulk Hogan wrestled The Rock, and then like having to go through and seeing when that happened. Like that's one hell of a visual. So for you to be there in person, so cool. I got goosebumps just thinking about the possibility of being there in person. And this motherfucker's like, yeah,
I was there. Yeah.
No, but like even you just talking about that head turn, like you gave me the goosebumps. Like I can still feel that energy when I think about it.
It's just so nuanced where like Hulk Hogan's doing like the finger point and The Rock just kind of the little eyebrow raise, and just, it was almost like a Kane head tilt, like Mask Kane before he talked. It was almost just like, why is this motherfucker pointing at me? What's happening right now? And it's also, you can it's probably to the reaction of, oh shit, I'm getting booed. What do I do here?
Yeah, that's an experience that can't be topped. Like 68,000 and like, oof.
That's probably like the second most thing that's made me jealous on this show now. Like obviously I've had this conversation with Shaun of, he was there and like, he was like, oh my God, I forgot that this match happened when he watched it back. I can't even remember which one it was that you said, but there was one time you were doing a rewatch. I don't know if it was Christian or DDP or another match. It was someone that you were actually a fan of, and you're like, how the fuck did I forget that they were actually on this card when I was there? But I'm like, the only thing that's probably going to top that for me was when we had Andy Coyne on. And he's like, yeah, I refereed an Eddie Guerrero match when he did an indie match in the UK. And I was just like, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, oh my God, I'm not worthy. But that's probably the closest that it'll come, is Shaun being there for for Rock versus Hogan, because we've had people that have been to, you know, WrestleManias and, you know, from 25 up to modern day, but Hogan and Rock at 18,
that's
like,
so cool.
I think the only thing that would top that is if I somehow had someone on this show that was at 17 for TLC 2.
Or 6.
That's
Warrior versus Hogan.
Yeah, true. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's where I couldn't like Warrior.
It's like, how dare he beat Hulk Hogan?
Well, we had to wait, like, what was it, 6 months to a year for it to come out on VHS. And so, like, you see the results, but until you see it, it's different, right? It's like, nope.
That's kind of like funny in itself, though. That like even you, like, it happened in Canada, and you guys are like, "Yo, where's the footage?" Like in Australia, we used to wait months upon months, like to see things like on DVDs and stuff like that, and even the stuff that was on, we have Foxtel now. It used to be called Ozstar. Even like, and it was before I started watching, but we've had people talk about how they loved the Monday Night Wars. But even then, they were watching on a 1 month delay, and they were still paying for it because it was cable. I'm like, fuck that. Imagine this day and age paying to watch something that happened a month ago, like, but knowing all the results.
I did used to like that sometimes we'd get SmackDown before the US though. Back in the day.
So like
that used to pop
like
me. They would get the shits.
Like mid 2000s to like the 2010s before SmackDown went live. It was, you know, SmackDown was taped on a Tuesday in the US, and whether it aired on a Thursday or a Friday in the US, we'd still get it. So Monday Night Raw, we never used to get live here. We used to get 3:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, and then we'd get SmackDown 3:30 p.m. on a Friday. So like you'd finish school, you'd come home. Obviously, it's still Thursday in the US. So I'm like, well, this match was really cool, and like it was the early days of me being on Facebook. And like all these dudes would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That match hasn't even happened yet, you lying son of a bitch!" And I'm like, one, it was taped 4 days ago. Two, here's a video of me watching it right now. And they're like, "Well, you're streaming that illegally." And I'm like, "No, I just live in Australia. I'm a day ahead."
We can tell the future over here.
See, even at that time in Canada, though, it would be Friday Night SmackDown that was taped on Tuesday but aired on Thursday.
Yeah, so you guys were still getting it early as well.
Yeah.
So
It's just
I always laughed at that.
When it finally dropped like to being live and it started airing like on a Wednesday morning / early afternoon for us, I was like, this is one, the fact that like, you know, it's happening now, but two, the fact that I was actually able to watch it in real time, like it still boggled my mind. So it pissed me off the other day when it started an hour early because it was in Canada, and Canada just that like extra hour either ahead or behind. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And WWE Australia was still like, it starts at this time, and I was like, fuck you guys. You work for the company. You should know this stuff. God damn it. And they did it yesterday with Deadline as well. Tune in at 12 p.m.
Yep.
So I'm just scrolling through X, and then the actual WWE page is like, well, such and such wins the men's Survivor, and then I go to like the Aussie page, and it still says starts at 12 p.m. and I'm like, it started an hour ago, you lying fucks. I know accidents happen. They've done it so many times that it pisses me off. Like I've made like my fan made posters. Like I'll be like, oh, here's like a throwback SummerSlam poster in the style of like the 2000s. And then someone's like, it actually starts at this time, and I'm like, well, WWE Australia said it started at that time. They work for the company. I don't. And Mania, like every year, Mania always falls somehow. I don't know how daylight savings works, and I don't know how the fuck it happens to be on a different date every year. It's just, oh, it's on this Sunday on this weekend. Why, for the last 4 or 5 years, has WrestleMania been the same day that daylight savings ends? So it's like, oh, it starts at 9 a.m. It's like, does it? Or does it start at 8 a.m. because we're going back an hour? Fuck my life. That's my TED Talk for the day. That's my TED Talk for the day. I'm sorry, Shaun.
No worries.
But like, is there anything on the Canadian indies that stands out? Like, obviously, as you said, nothing will top that Rock Hogan experience, but is there anything maybe from those CWE shows or C4 shows that sticks out to you from a live experience?
Getting to see Edge win his first IC title.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty awesome.
24,000 people inside a Skydome. That was pretty freaking surprising. Nobody knew that was coming.
Was that the one where it was like technically a dark match against Jarrett?
No, it was a legitimate house show. So what the story was, it was supposed to be Double J versus Ken Shamrock, but Ken Shamrock had border issues, so he couldn't be there. Then Edge replaced him, and we're like, okay, cool. And then Edge won the match, and we were like, oh, what? Yes. And then another ref came out and said it wasn't a sanctioned match. And we're like, what the hell? Well, and then finally somebody else came out and said, yeah, it's official, and then Edge got his IC title.
Obviously,
and then lost it the next night.
I've just seen the story like on his documentaries and stuff, and the match is actually on there. I didn't realize that it was a full-blown house show. For some reason, I thought it was just like a match before an event or something. But wow, that's cool. I love house shows. An
unadvertised match.
I love house shows. The logic of house shows is none of it's canon until there's a title change.
How
many like MSG shows have they done that where it's like, oh, this is just a live show, but such and such just won this title. That's the only thing that counts in the show.
The next one would be the first ever Raw in Toronto, where Austin runs the corporate gauntlet.
Dude,
that one was freaking amazing to watch. I got to go with my cousin, so I'm the Rock fan. She's the Austin fan.
That's like peak Attitude Era right there, though. Around that time frame. I've been to. So Nova, the only big show that Nova's been to, and I say big with a wink and a smile because obviously they're not as big as they used to. But obviously last year Impact came here, like it's around the corner from my house. The fact that I'll say this every time, but it's my go-to line now, is just that the fact I was at a wrestling show with my house keys in my pocket, yes, Nova's mouthing along, is mind-boggling in its own right. But the fact that I was at an Impact Wrestling / TNA show with my house keys in my pocket, Nova, I wish I had that on camera. Jesus Christ.
I've heard this so many times.
But like, it's just, but like all these people that we've had on that are like, I've been to this Mania or this SummerSlam or something, and then even Shaun's just like, well, this house show had this massive fucking title change, and that's a historic run in a legitimate Hall of Famer's career. Like, oh, dude, like I'm so jealous.
It might have only been like 24-hour run, but it was something special for Edge and for the crowd, right? And then to probably help ticket sales, never expected unexpected.
I remember the biggest one for me was I was watching Raw with my mate Andrew, aka A-Swags. He's been on this show like 2.5 years ago at this point. Holy shit. Me and him watching an episode of Raw, and they just did a tour. It was like randomly, I think it was like Africa or something, like weird. And Kendrick and London like won the titles and then dropped them back. And they're showing like just the photos and stuff. And they're like, yeah, the former world tag team. And I was like, these motherfuckers aren't former world tag. And then they showed the photos, and I'm like, huh? What? And even at the age of like, 10 or 11 at that point, I was like, why did they do that? But then again, like you get older and you realize, oh, okay, like, the crowd, they're just excited that the wrestling's in their country, and they, it was a one-day title reign, but that's still really cool. And I remember they did that with Punk and Kofi even. They won the tag titles, and then they just dropped it at a random house show back to, I think it was Legacy at the time. And then it's just like, you're watching the pay-per-view. I think it was Survivor Series or Armageddon. It was one of the end of the year ones. And it's just like, former World Tag Team Champion CM Punk. And I'm just like, wait just a fucking minute. He had the title on Raw. And then it's like, yeah, he dropped it at such and such show. And you're like, what?
What?
I've the only WWE show that I've been to where they didn't, I get the point of house shows, and kayfabe aside is to work out the fine points of like feuds and stuff. But the only WWE show that I've been to where it was a completely different show was the NXT show. They did different matches every night, and then when Chris Jericho was doing his house show run, his whole thing was, every night has to be different. So I got to see Chris Jericho versus Finn Balor in Sydney, which no one else got to see because he was in a tag match with someone else on another show. He just did a highlight reel segment on another show. But like literally every WWE show I've been to, it's just like, okay, I need to stay away from results because I'm going to see the exact same fucking results tonight. The only thing that came close to that was when they were doing, I can't even remember who the IC champion was at the time. It may have been Curtis Axel or something, or The Miz. I feel terrible because I love The Miz. But basically, they just kept swapping between Apollo Crews and Dean Ambrose winning the Battle Royal throughout the... So the first match was the Battle Royal, they'd advanced to the IC title match. And throughout the Australian tour, they swapped between Apollo Crews and Dean Ambrose a couple of times. I can't even remember who won it the night that I was there. But I was just like, I've never been to, like, even the WWE events that have come in. Like, Super Showdown was a big event, but it was basically just a massive house show. I still didn't even get to go to that. Like, I've never been to a massive PLE of any description. And even Impact, they're like, this is canon within our show. But then they're like, Moose hasn't been pinned in 2 years. And I'm like, hold up. Joe Hendry pinned Moose at Australia, you lying sons of bitches. That was a rant, basically. But I'm like, he's seen all this cool shit, and this is not Fan Nova. We've been ripped off.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more ripped off than you. You've still seen a bit more than me.
I still got to see Shawn Michaels live. Thanks, Terry.
Says he's ripped off. See Shawn Michaels.
Thanks, Terry Bollea for being racist and being pulled from that show and replaced with Shawn Michaels. Because I got to see Shawn Michaels hit a Sweet Chin Music on Bo Dallas. So thank you, Terry, for your service. I got to see William Regal, although I'm a little bit sad because I was front row at that NXT show. Literally, Regal came out just as intermission was ending. And Nova, obviously, you've been to that venue because we just went to Slam. We just had 2,400 wrestling fans at an Australian-only show, Sean, which is... That's fucking cool. No internationals, no nothing. Yeah. Even Robbie Eagles, who is currently contracted to New Japan, wasn't actually on that show. So nothing but local talent. 2,400. But it's the toilets are all upstairs inside the actual wrestling venue. The ones that are downstairs are like outside the door. So by the time I've gone through the massive line and then come back, I'm literally. It was like like a scene from a movie. I took one step down the staircase. I'm on the top step and Regal's music starts playing. And I'm like, I'm crying because I avoided spoilers because I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't know how they were I didn't know that they were doing different matches at every show. I thought it was just the main event. So I completely stayed away from social media. Everyone knew Regal was there because he was in like whatever town it was the night before. But I'm like crying, one, because it's William Regal, two, I was way far away from my seat. Like, I could have been so much closer to him than I could have been. And I was just like, no. But I'm like, I got to see Regal. I got to see Kurt Angle. He opened one of the shows at the house show. But then Nick Martino's like, oh, I went to a SmackDown tour in 2003 and there was Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero. And I'm just like, why do all these people get to see all this cool shit? Like, even one of my friends, there was a 4-way match, and they actually were announcing it on SmackDown, where it was like Angle, Mark Henry, Taker, and could have been Ray, may have been JBL, but it was like a 4-way match for the world title when Angle was world champion. And again, like, most of the matches on the card were the same in all the towns, but all the main events, they changed. And I'm like, my God, you guys get to see all this cool shit. Like, I think I've just been ripped off. But that's my TED Talk for the day. Nova's just shaking her head at me. She's just like...
He says he was ripped off and he's just listing all these people. I'm like, yep.
But I haven't seen them wrestle, Nova. I haven't seen them wrestle.
Still.
Haven't got to see Shawn Michaels versus insert name here.
It could be worse, though. You could have not seen them at all.
And then my buddy's like, yeah, I fucking... The amount of people I had that flew over to Perth for Elimination Chamber and then have told me how much they paid for accommodation and travel compared to like what even the ticket was. Like, the ticket was the cheapest part of that all.
Literally.
I'm just like, no.
Some of the flights that I looked at just to see if we could even go, I was like, cool, I could go like over to the US, not back as well, but over to the US at least with the amount they paid to go there and back.
I can go on a holiday to New Zealand and visit Hobbit Land and still save money.
We can also go to Japan.
Yeah, like it's just.
It is to go to Perth.
Everyone's shitting on AEW coming here and whatever. I'm like, look, I'm not big on their product, but if it was closer, I'd go because it's live wrestling. Like that's just cool. But like, I just everyone has cool shit. It's not Shaun's fault, but I'm gonna blame Shaun because he's only the third international we've had, and he's the first person from Canada. Why? I know it's different parts of Canada. Blame Canada. But why do you get Money in the Bank, Survivor Series War Games, and in 2 months or 3 months, you're getting fucking Elimination Chamber?
You know what it is?
What the actual fuck, Canada?
You know what it is? They're so nice, so they get everyone. They're just aggressively friendly.
This is how I look at it. We're being repaid for being teased for WrestleMania 29. Rock versus Cena 1. Once in a lifetime. We got teased for that WrestleMania.
I do remember. And again, because we've been Facebook friends for so many years now, I still remember that conversation of, oh my God. And then it's like, oh no, it's just going to be New York, New Jersey. And you were like, those motherfuckers.
Well, WrestleMania 28, sorry, because it would have been 10 years of Rock versus Hogan.
Yes,
so it was like the perfect time, and we got teased for it. Yeah, and then we got screwed. So it's like...
I'm pretty sure that actually was more Rock's call, because he wanted it in Miami. So your boy screwed you over.
Oh, dude, his security screwed me over before he ever did.
Would you like to share that? You've told me this, but would you like to share the story with Nova just for the sake of being on a podcast?
Oh, okay. So I got to work at Fan Access WrestleMania 18. So I don't know if you know what they were, but for Friday and Saturday there was 3 blocks. You didn't know which wrestlers were going to be there, but there would be 3 at a time. I got to work the Saturday morning block, and then I got to go to the afternoon block. So during the lunch break, I was in my TV guide booth, and the Rock Scorpion King booth was right beside us, literally right beside us. Rock walks right in front of me, and his security stopped me and wouldn't even let me say one word to him.
That is some bullshit.
So yeah.
That's bullshit.
I'm wearing a Rock shirt. I'm trying to show the security guard my Bravo Bull tat. He wouldn't have none of it. It was just like, oh my God.
The fact that you're there as a worker though, to be like, hey man, like I'm a part of this. Yeah. Fuck that security. Whoever you are, security guard. I hope you have a lovely life with a lovely family, but I hope you step on Lego.
But then on the other spectrum of that, while I was working, I was walking around, and all of a sudden I felt like extremely short, and I look up and it was Tess, and I was like, oh shit, hey, how's it going? And his security guard pushed me out of the way, and then he was like, don't touch my fans like that, and besides, he's media. So I sat and walked around Fan Access for like 10 minutes just shooting the shit with Tess.
Yeah, imagine this like little fucking security guard thinking that I need to be a bodyguard for Test.
Right? Like 6'7" Tess, 5 foot 925 pound me. Yeah,
I think you got to meet Trish at one of those too, didn't you?
That was the block I got to go to in the morning.
Nice,
Same thing. Her security guard was like, no pictures past this point. And I was like, screw that. So when I got to her, I was like, he said I can't have a picture with you. Can I at least shake your hand? She's like, he said you can't have a picture with me? Give her the camera. So she let me take a picture with her. I had my arm around her. I was like, oh.
That's amazing.
19-year-old freaking me pretty much hugging Trish Stratus and just like, haha.
See, like I've met quite a lot of names like at World Series Wrestling, which, you know, obviously I've paid for meet and greet. I'm not doing that again now because the without burying them, their system has changed a lot. So it's like, okay, I paid to get merch. Yeah. I don't have extra money for merch. I just want to pay the VIP to get a photo and say hello. But Cody Rhodes was paying like for photos and stuff. Big James is a massive Cody mark. You know, this dude's 6'2", 6'3", you know, 120 kilos. Like, he's a big boy. We all know him. He met Cody and he started sweating because Cody's like his bro. And he's like started to walk away, and I'm like, you good? And he's like, I just took a photo with Cody. And he's wearing his Cody Rhodes shirt. Cody stands up because we're next, and he's like, you're with him? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, give me a second. And because I was with Tom / Big James, we've had him on the show before. We know everyone knows his real name. They've gone. Cody's like, hey man, do you mind waiting a sec? I'm going to talk to your buddy. And I'm like, yeah, fuck no worries. And he's like, hey buddy, come back here. Do you want me to sign your shirt? And Big James let out the most, the most like high pitched sound that big man. He was like, yeah. And he was like, yes, please. And I was like that. And I don't know if he's gonna be mad at me for like sharing that story on the pod, but it was like again, like that's the shit that I love right there. And like even with me and Nova, you technically didn't really get to see him, but you kind of by proxy met Nick Nemeth.
Kind of.
At Intermission.
Like I was there and he was talking to you, but I was like,
because again, I paid for the VIP meet and greet, and in the end of it, it was like I got no money for merch, so here's this 8x10 I made of you guys. I could have just done that at Intermission for free, just to be like, hi, I made this. But like I was just like, okay. He kind of wanted to sign it, but the handlers were like, no, you have to pay money. So I'm like, look, I'm just gonna walk over and just see how much he's charging. And like right on cue, they're like whisking him away. He literally pushes them aside, literally comes to me, makes eye contact with me. He's not actually that much bigger than me. Like he's a little bit taller, but I'm, and he's like, hey buddy, he's like, I'm so sorry, man. He's like, I'm gonna go get changed, da-da-da-da. He's like, I promise you. He's like, I'm gonna be back here after the show, da-da-da. And just like took like that minute or two to be like, hey man, promise I'll come back. And even that was just like, oh, that was like, no one else was around. It was just me, Nova, and my brother standing there. And I was like, oh, that was, like, I love that shit. Like,
I was just mainly sad because it's like, I jumped on the WSW bandwagon after because like you got to go to all these cool shows and you even got to talk to people. Some people were like, no, you have to pay to even kind of really talk to me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it was the same with the Impact one. I just wanted to say hello to Chris Bay and Ace Austin, and the guy was like, keep walking.
And I was like, come on, sweetie. And I felt so bad.
Like Chris Bay.
So much.
Chris Bay makes eye contact with me. He himself goes, sup. Little security guard, who is half of my size, goes, you can't talk to them. I'm like...
And it kind of sucked because it made me feel like we really had to pick and choose who we paid for because we didn't have much money. And I was like, they're probably seeing us walk past and think, oh, well, they're shit. They don't even like me. They're not even looking at me. They're going looking straight ahead. I'm like, we're not allowed to.
We're not worthy.
See, then this is what irritates me, though. I grew up where meet and greets were free. Take your picture, get your autograph, shake a hand. And now it's like, no, you got to do things like that. Decide, well, do I want theirs or do I want theirs?
That's why I like, you can kind of have like a mixture of both, I feel. And this is where my gripe with Carlito comes in, right? Because I did the meet and greet for House of Hardcore in 2017. And it was basically announced as everyone gets one free photo. And like there was the group photo, but when they originally announced it, they said that like you can get one free photo from any of the wrestlers, like as a solo as well. At some point that just fucking disappeared, and it was, here's the group photo. So you do get to say hello to everyone for free, but keep moving. And me walking over to Carlito's table, seeing, oh, he's charging X amount for photos. Oh shit, I don't have like money. Sorry, I didn't realize. I thought I had VIP. And he literally turned his back on me, like turned around and just struck up a conversation with the guy that was like his handler / security. And I was like, oh, if he was a heel, I'd get it. But considering he was working as a babyface on the show, I was like, that's like, I was, I was 22 years old at the time. Maybe it shouldn't have broke my heart as much as it did, but I was just like, oh, there's been a misunderstanding. There's been a misunderstanding here. And rather than be like, hey, let's have a conversation and just at least say hello and, hey, man, I'm a big fan. He was just like, oh, well, you have no money. It's not fair for anyone else. Bye. And I was like, oh, okay. Fair enough.
The one thing that I was so happy about, though, as I said to you, I was like, I really want to meet Joe Hendry, and I'm so fucking glad that we did, because then we got to meet Scott D'Amore fucking by accident after that.
Scott D'Amore
was whew.
So, and again, without shitting on the people that organised it, because everyone was lovely, like it was great. They forgot to put Scott D'Amore on the website. You could pay at the door to meet Scott D'Amore, but I was like, oh, I would have paid to. Which is, in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't. But because we had the wedding titles, Joe's like, we've got to show Scott D'Amore these wedding titles. And like we talked to Scott D'Amore for like 5 minutes with no one else around, and it was fucking awesome because Joe Hendry, as the talent went, literally the guy was like da 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 da. Joe Hendry basically. This is going to make Joe Hendry sound rude when he's really lovely, but the guy that was our handler kind of went, "You can't," and Joe Hendry basically pie-faced the dude and went, "We're going to talk to Scott."
He's like, "He's my boss. I'm off." Like, kind of. Then I was like, "Okay."
I still say though, and until I get further confirmation from Impact Wrestling TNA somehow, they were like, "Oh, check out these tag titles. Oh, that's a really cool color combination." Fast forward 5 months, TNA's rebranded. Now the tag titles are the exact same color. So until I get confirmation, I'm taking credit for that.
As well, Joe took a photo with our title. He's like, "Can I get a photo of this?" And we're like,
yeah. He made a joke that he was going to put it on his Tinder because Joe is his legitimate name. He's just like, I'm just going to have to marry someone whose name starts with T because it says T and J. To this day, Joe Hendry still has not posted that photo on social media. And I'm just like, bruh, no one believes me.
No one believes us.
And like for like a solid like 5 minutes, I was just carrying around the digital media championship, and I myself forgot to take like we got the photo where we're all like holding it up, like the three of us. But he's literally going, "Hey, let's swap. You hold this for me." And I was just like, this is actually fucking. Like, it's such a small title compared to the rest of them. So I'm like, oh, it's not going to be that heavy. And I was like, oh, shit. This is like the heaviest title I've ever held. What the fuck? I like how we just turned this into a rant of, like, people we've met and haven't met.
Right.
But,
So fun.
But no, like, that's why I like World Series. Like again, like, they've changed it up slightly to where it's like, I'm not going to do VIP meet and greet. If they sell out of merch, that sucks. But... as long as
half the time we're like further in the stop anyway.
Yeah,
like
if I can
so
still,
half the
if
time
I
there's
can
nothing
still
there
walk
anyway.
in at intermission and just be like, "Hi, thanks for coming." That's all I want. Like, and for people like, and I'm not going to name him because he's a worker here in Australia, Elijah / Ezekiel / Elias. Because I made the 8x10, he's like, "Nah, man, fuck that. Like, I'm assigning that for free." And then he just goes, "What's with the eye patch?" Me telling him the story, and he was like, "Oh shit, that's hardcore." This local wrestler, getting his panties in a fucking bunch because, he didn't pay for that. And Elias literally just looking at him going, "I don't care, he made it."
He didn't buy it off me. That was another thing that reminded me of TJP, actually. But I had nothing for him.
TJP didn't even have a handler. He was just like, yo. Like,
he probably said I didn't want one.
He's just like, I don't give a fuck.
Because he's just like, "Oh, my wife wanted to meet," and he's seen I had his shirt on, and he's like, "Fucking come here, let's get a photo for nothing. Come on." I was like, "Fuck yeah, you're one of my favorite wrestlers now." Like, that just made me. I was like, yes.
And not to brag though, but since, shout out to What If It's Cool on their YouTube channel, they made me the co-host. The fact that we got to do a reaction with TJP with, one of his matches, and the fact that he's like, "Oh yeah, like my wife, and like that the 8x10 I made TJP, his wife has framed and is sitting on their mantle." Like,
So cool.
That is fucking mind-boggling. But then you've got these, whether they're handlers, and I get they've got a job to do. But again, as Shaun said, he's 5'9", I'm 5'9". Like no, do not. How dare you? and then TJP of all people doesn't have a fucking handler, and something I made is now on his mantle is mind-boggling to me.
That's awesome.
So cool.
But Brian Cage is another guy. Again, jacked as fuck. Literally, while I was in line, it was like 2 or 3 people ahead of me bought the shirt I wanted. It was the last one in my size. So he's like, "No, come over here," and like signed an 8x10 to me and gave it to me for free because he genuinely just felt bad because he watched me just go, "Oh, I wanted that. It was the last one." And you got this handler standing to the side going, "Da da da da." It's like, no, fuck you. Like, you've got a job to do. I respect that, but how dare you? One day, Shaun. One day, Shaun, you'll get to meet The Rock. One day.
Oh, dude. They say don't meet your heroes. He's the one I have a feeling I don't want to meet.
I feel like there's going to be like two different sides of The Rock though, because you see like, you know, he takes the time to take the selfies with everyone and like all of that. But like if you did just by chance get him on one bad day, like that would be soul crushing.
And that would be my luck too, right? It would be that one bad day he's having when I get that chance, and it'd be like, fuck. Oh, there's three.
I'll quickly just bring up one thing before Nova asks her next question.
I wanted to bring up something as well.
Well, there you go. But there was like, you unfortunately had that same kind of experience with Batista, who I'm like, he's one of my guys. But like for you guys, you waited out like in the snow, and he was just in such a shitty mood, and it was just like I'm so glad that
it was horrible.
Because like again, the only one that I've really ever had that experience with was Carlito, and Austin Aries as well. But I was like, okay, he's just
and you know what's weird with Carlito? It might have been because it was a bit while longer, but when Julian got to meet him when they came here with CWE, he was totally amazing. He was giving away pictures for free with the kids. He was signing their arms or their shirts, whatever, for free, just walking around shaking everybody's hand. I'm wondering if like maybe when you met him.
He's done a couple of tours just with indie companies here in Australia. And it's the same thing when the question comes of, there's always who was the nicest wrestler you've met? And so many of my friends have gone, man, Carlito was a fucking sweetheart. I talked to him for 10 minutes and I was just like, man, maybe he was just jet lagged when I talked to him. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
But he was just like, you don't have money. Okay. And I was like, oh. But literally, again, everyone else is like, man, I took a photo with him and I did this and I did this. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, like maybe he was just having a really bad mental health day, and maybe he just wanted that money to keep himself motivated. I don't know.
And I remembered something where I might give Batista a little bit of credit for. I watched an interview with Edge where he said Pat Patterson told him not to shake fans' hands because you don't know where they've been. Right? So if he told that to Batista, I can kind of see that being in Batista's head. If he has to shake 100 people's hands, right? I can kind of get it. Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that. It
does make me sad though, because you guys, from what you said, was like,
yeah.
And literally every time you tell me the story, it reminds me of the song "Stand" by Eminem. Like I wait there in the corner, like I didn't even like look up. It's just like literally sign like, this, great. Thank you, next. Like, oh, it was that's fucking heartbreaking.
4 hours in freezing cold rain. We weren't even like the 100th person in line. We were like under the 10. And we get to him, my scrawny 12-year-old nephew, can I give you a chop? His publicist is like, I don't think so, kid. And he's just a kid. He's only joking around. He just looks up, that's it, signs, and that was it. It was like, wow, okay.
That makes me so sad.
The only bad experience out of everybody I've met.
But again, he's another one where you go through socials and he's almost doing what The Rock does now. Like, even when he came back for his final match where he was meant to be a heel, the moment the cameras stopped rolling, he's like, we stopped? We done? Yeah, okay. Yeah. He got out and was signing autographs for kids in the front row and shit. And, like, there was the story that Triple H told. It was like, you motherfucker, you can't even be a heel. And he's like, what? There's kids, man. But again, this is, 10 years after the fact for Shaun. So maybe he mellowed out, but it's just like, that's so sad because he's always been one of my guys.
What I think at the time, I really think he got in it for the money, right? And then he realized once he's champion, he has a totally different road in what he has to do as champion, like interacting with us. I think he was Brock Lesnar before anything, right?
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
He just wanted to go to work, get his work done, go home.
I was thinking of Nash. Nash for the money.
Man, he's another one who, like, I love Kevin Nash. Like, the NWO
at least he's straight up with it, though.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I just do it for the fucking money, man.
He's just one of those dudes I'm like, I really, like, you go back, you watch the NWO stuff, I'm like, yeah, Kevin Nash. But then he'll go on his podcast and be like, this guy and this. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Kevin. Lowest drawing champion in history. I know it was a terrible time, but shut the fuck up.
There's one of the dudes that I'm friends with on friggin' Instagram the other day did a meet and greet with him, and he's gone and like, can you spray paint this title? I was like, fuck yeah. And he's got photos of old mate and a video of old mate spraying the title and that. I'm like, that's cool.
It's like, that's cool. Again, it's like, how many years removed now from the business where he can kick back and be like,
He's just
man, the NWO, that was some wild times. Fucking oath, let me spray paint this.
That's so cool. I'll have to try and show you later. Then you can show Shaun as well.
What did you want to bring up before?
Oh, it was just mainly like when Shaun was like, I don't know, like meeting your heroes and stuff, and I was kind of like, yeah, I was shitting it. I was so anxious first, like just meeting all the people from Impact, and I was like, I don't think I met one of them that was bad. I don't think I've met someone that was bad yet, because Moose seemed grumpy, but in our photos he had this shit-eating grin, and then everyone else's photos he looked so mad.
Yeah, he's like, I think it's because we were just genuinely like, I was just like, hey man, like congrats on the new contract.
Yeah, like it was so impressive and stuff.
Like it's literally the like TNA Impact, regardless of what they're called, was the largest contract anyone for that company signed. So I was just like, hey man, heard about this throughout, the interwebs. If this is true, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you the number, but he's like, it's bigger than I am, like, and started laughing, and I'm like, wow, because like obviously he's a 6'8", 6'9" man, and you're like,
yeah,
and he's like, but like in the photos, he's got like the serious face because he's trying to kayfabe, but he's got this shit-eating grin in the one we took with him, and that makes me so
great. And then I think it'd pretty much go the two nicest ones that I felt like I met was Joe Hendry, because we got that awesome experience. It was awesome. And then I'd say Eddie Edwards. He was really cool.
With that being said, because I don't want to, again,
I think he popped because you're like, when is your wife coming? I'm like, yes, I want to meet your wife. I want to meet Alicia.
I felt bad for Kazarian though, because he's been to Australia that many times that like not many people were doing it, and he's just sitting next to Eddie drinking his coffee, and I'm just like, sup, Frankie? And he's like, sup, dude?
And the guys there like, because you said hello to him.
Actually, one thing before I transition, when we met Deonna Purrazzo, because originally we weren't going to take the wedding titles, so the whole point was we got a photo, we purchased the one with Deonna because Teak/Nova was going to hold the Knockouts title in the photo. But like we obviously, I think they're married now, but at the time they were engaged. So Macklin and Deonna are obviously sitting at the same table, and we're just there talking to Macklin, and the guy was fine with that. Macklin tried to sneak into the photo, and the guy taking the photo goes, "Hey Macklin," like literally like does the whole brushing hand motion, and he's like, "Can you move?" And Macklin's like, "Oh,
fuck off."
And I just looked at Macklin and I'm like, sorry, man, like, if I had the money, I would have paid for you to be in the photo. And he just kind of put his head down and laughed. He's like, it's fine. He's just like, it's fine. I was trying to sneak in there for you. And I was like, I appreciate that. It's fine.
I think you appreciate it too, because you weren't being a creepy cunt with his missus. You were like really like, okay, like not making sure you didn't touch her and like.
Because like Deonna, I will go on record, and I think in terms of technical ability, I think Deonna is the best one of the best technical wrestlers in general. But as far as women are concerned, she is like the best technical wrestler in the world, in my opinion. So I was like, this is cool. And then they were kind of popping at the time, and they were like, hey, we're engaged, wedding titles. I wonder if they ever did that. Who knows? But, yeah. Before Nova asks us our next question then, because it will kind of tie in, you said you don't really want to meet The Rock now just because you're worried that might ruin it. But is there anyone that you haven't met that's kind of, that you wish you could meet? Because, like, for me, obviously, I've met 2 of my top 5. 2 of them have passed, but Nick Nemeth was amazing. Johnny Impact, Mundo, gimmick name, whatever, was fucking amazing. Like, I've never met a bad wrestler, really. Again, except for Carlito, but I always say, maybe he was having a bad day. Like, Austin Aries is Austin Aries. I think everyone has an Austin Aries story. But, like, the only one that's really... Because, like, I met Aries, like, the first time, and it was cool. But, like, the only one that actually hurt my feelings was Carlito, and as you said, Batista for you. But is there anyone that's on that list where you're like, man, I hope CWE or someone brings them over, or if you were to go to a WWE show and...
AJ's my top.
See, he's
like,
I'm the same.
He's my need to meet. Definitely. Like, I've been watching him since week 2 of NWA TNA pay-per-views.
Man, that was like TNA before it was actually like TNA. That's...
Yeah, where you had to pay $11.99 every week to watch a 2-hour wrestling show that should be on free TV.
But no, like for me, like many people know my top 5. Obviously, I can't meet Eddie. I can't meet Macho Man. The only one out of the top 5 that I haven't met that's still alive, out of the 3 that I can, is AJ Styles. So if that could somehow come to fruition, that would fucking be amazing.
Well, that's for me with Bray. If he was still with us, would be up there with AJ. Because like him, Rock, and AJ, don't make me pick between the 3.
There is still that part of me, though, that like just for shits and gigs, just because my dad loved him so much, where I wish I could meet Hogan, just so I could be like, you know what? Just, I'm not going to buy anything off you, but thank you. Because, like, without him, like, maybe I wouldn't have had the relationship with my dad. Like, that gets super fucking deep. But I just like to be like, hey, look, Mr. Belia Hogan Hollywood Sir, thank you. Like, that's all I want to say. And then I'll leave. And that's fine.
Don't put me in front of Hogan. Because I'll ask the question that nobody fucking... There's number 4. That nobody efforting wants to ask. And what did he mean with everything before he said the N-word? Because everybody always focuses on just in saying that word and not the statement of, if she wanted to piss me off, why isn't she with one of those NBA?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the whole freaking statement. He wouldn't like me. I'd be escorted out pretty quick by security.
I think the Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil opening WrestleMania together on, I think it was 35, will forever be a funny one to go back and rewatch.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jesus. That's bad. You can't say that, Terry. You just can't. Oh.
Nope.
So the next question that we've got that's on the list is, what is an alternate... in an alternate universe, if you had to lace up your boots, who would your ultimate dream opponent be, and what would your dream stipulation be, Shaun?
Oh, God.
This always stumps everyone.
See, originally...
So I'm going to go with... does it have to be living?
Anyone past... Because originally I was going to say, present. Originally the question was going to be, like, if you could team with someone. But I'm like, it's obviously it's going to be The Rock. It's going to be Johnson and Johnson.
No.
No, not Brock. No. Okay.
No.
Bonus question.
The Fiend, Bray Wyatt in a Firefly Funhouse.
Ooh.
Yes.
I want him. Yeah. Because then in that way, I don't have to wrestle, because God knows I could never do that. And there's some therapy that could possibly happen from that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wyatt, sir, for helping me relive and process my trauma.
Right? Well, that's what it would be for.
I'm still sad we didn't get one with Randy. That would have been so good.
No, see, for me, the missed opportunity was Undertaker's retirement at Survivor Series.
Yes, honestly.
You just have the lights go out, Taker gone, and there's the Firefly Funhouse match happening. God
damn it, Mark. Why did you take this
say that? I've been saying that since 2020, man.
I did hear, actually, a line that C-Factor dropped on me while we were road tripping to our show this past weekend as we're recording this he's like, something he's heard secondhand that I'm now passing on secondhand is when people go, there's nothing wrong with being a Mark. I'm a bigger Mark than The Undertaker. Because obviously his real name is Mark and he's 7 foot tall. And I'm like...
Such a good joke. I want to steal that now. Just use it everywhere.
But if you were to team with someone, would it still be Bray, or would that be where you go to Rock or AJ?
Right, team AJ. Oh AJ. Yeah, team with AJ.
Make him do all the shit. Just steal the win.
Well, it's not just that. Is I know I could rely on him up to a certain point until I piss him off too much. But no, I'd be able to say I was in high quality tag team matches without doing anything.
That's a fair point. I need to find me the Australian equivalent of AJ Styles and just stand there and do nothing.
Just be a shadow. Be a stunt double. I'll be his Mizdow.
Yes.
But it'll be the opposite, where it'll be like slapstick humor. I go to springboard and I fall on my face.
Dude, why has no one done that? That's $1 million idea. That's honestly, that's great.
Succubus.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, she's kind of like done that with like her skits and stuff. We need to like.
Don't
amp
worry, I'll save you.
Oh, I love her skits. So good.
I love her.
Would you like to ask the last official question, Nova, seeing as how Shaun and I have ranted quite a lot?
I'm just gonna work out where I'm at.
So it's.
Oh yeah, here we go. I'm just gonna zoom in and on my notes.
My bad. So before we get into the predictions for the upcoming Saturday Night's Main Event, which again, there's still matches to be made as we make this, but we wanted it in the can so we can... I got to leave tomorrow as I record this for a medical appointment, so if we could get this all sorted, I would be happy.
Oh yeah, so we ended on a non-wrestling question like we always do.
Yep, and then we'll go into the prediction.
Yeah, so this one's a two-parter. So it's the non-wrestling related question, ADHD there. What is both the best and worst Christmas present you've ever received, Shaun?
I figure it's December, it's holidays, we're trying to do
yeah.
Just completely...
Does it have to be a Christmas Day present?
I mean, something you've been given for the holidays, we'll say.
Okay, so the legitimate side, Technodrome.
Hell yeah!
As a kid, that was the toy. In the spiritual sense, Julian was supposed to be born on Christmas Day, but he was born a week early. That's like the ultimate Christmas gift. I don't care what anybody says. That he was for me there. The worst, I got a Barbie.
Oh man.
My dad heard me bitching to my sister about something stupid, so he said, I'm going to get you a Barbie for Christmas if you don't stop bitching about things, and I didn't stop bitching about things.
That's like the ultimate dad rip right there.
I would have just...
Right?
I would have roasted him and just gone, that's fine, she can wrestle. Then have a wrestling
Oh my
hero
god, it
figure.
has the exact accessories that I was after. How did you know? So my sister used to, I'm going to call her out here. She used to, like, when she got done playing with Barbies, she'd break them and then blame it on me so she'd get a new one. She was like, you know. But I used to make up with her because I used to steal her Ken dolls and I used to make him wrestle Hulk Hogan and Ken. The first lot of action figures I ever got was, so I had a Scott Hall in his regular attire, and then I had Kevin Nash in the NWO attire, and then I had Ric Flair in a suit. And then my cousin had the NWO Hogan and like Sting and da-da-da-da. So I used to make the Ken doll take a beating from the entire NWO plus Sting, just because I was like, I'll show my sister, blaming me for breaking her Barbies. I'm going to beat up Ken, which is somehow going to make her psyche. When she did used to get so mad because like I'd leave marks in the Ken dolls from how hard I was like dropping the elbows and shit.
That's why I had the Sin Cara figure.
Everyone needs a jobber. Everyone needs a jobber.
Right? You said first toys. I don't know if you know. Did you ever see the WWF Raw Titantron? And then it had the figures where you put it on the Titantron and it played their entrance theme.
Yes, it had like the little magnet or something like on the feet.
Yeah. I had all of those figures with the Tron at one point. So that was my first wrestling figures.
That's cool. I have I have an actual WCW Sting action figure that I paid 50 cents for because someone had just donated like all their like toys to the local dump. And like my nan and my auntie were like combing through stuff for my brother because my dad at the time was living like all the way up in Queensland. He only lived there for the one Christmas, but he was still in the process at the time of, in theory, living there and getting the house organised. So like, oh, my brother's young. We just need some cheap toys just to kind of, keep him occupied. And it was like, fuck, here's this Sting action figure, and like it's fully posable. Like it has way more joints than like modern day figures from Mattel and stuff. Like, and the funny thing is though, the way they molded the hair, they actually he has a hole in his head, and there's like a tab where the hair was like super glued. At some point, his hair fell off, so every now and then, like I would have had to like re-superglue the hair off, so re-superglue it on. Otherwise, it'd fall off and he'd be bald, and there'd just be like a gash, it's like a shape of a mohawk, except it's inwards, not outwards, in the back of his head.
Yeah.
But I'm just
I had to do that.
Like it's an actual.
Do you remember the American Badass Undertaker figure that had the ponytail?
Yeah, my Scott Hall. I don't know where the ponytail ended up. My Scott Hall has like a little square in the back of his head from where his ponytail come off when I was younger.
Yeah, Julian cut Undertaker's hair ponytail off. So I got a short hair Undertaker figure.
Short hair American Badass Taker, even though it was set before. Yeah. You just lie to go to like a flea market and lie to someone and tell them that it's like a prototype.
It's an error.
Well, actually, so I, for the longest time, never had an Eddie Guerrero action figure. My dad bought me one on eBay. It has 2 left feet because it was a factory error. And I was like, that's kind of cool for me that he's my all-time favorite wrestler and my action figure of him has a factory error. I'm like, that's cool because although it's not worth a lot of money to me, I'm like, it's technically a rare figure. There's 2 left feet. But the whole point we're here, like we were meant to just talk about Saturday night's main event and sprinkle stuff in. I knew this was going to happen. I said it's going to go at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
We're coming close. But before we get into all of the plugs, not the plugs, before we wrap it up, we don't have plugs. Shaun doesn't have dates to plug. I'm used to saying the plugs. Before we wrap this up, I should say, we're going to throw out, just for the sake of it, because I know you've got a couple of theories, Shaun. Nova's just going to wing it. So see how this goes. But we're going to do our predictions for the 4 matches that are locked in for Saturday night's main event as we do this. But the first match, obviously, Shaun, you being the guest for this event, being the guest for this episode coming into this event, hashtag what are words, buy the t-shirt, by God. We're gonna let you do the predictions first, but we have Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship. We have Gunther versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. Liv Morgan defending against Io Sky for the Women's World Championship, and then this match isn't locked in. It's going to be locked in, I believe, on SmackDown. So the day that this episode drops, we will actually know. But they're determining the women's United States champion. Currently, we have Bayley versus Chelsea Green, Mi Chin versus Tiffany Stratton. But if we go all the way back to Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, Shaun, for the WWE Championship, who is your prediction?
Cody. Oh yeah. I don't see how KO gets a win with this one. Orton's probably might pop up. But yeah, this is Cody's.
Who's your prediction? Cody Rhodes or Kevin Owens?
I don't have like a deep meaning to it. I just want heel Kevin Owens to win.
See, we were talking about this
on the weekend.
We were talking about this with C Factor on the weekend, and we were like, even if he like wanted just to drop it back to Cody in like a triple threat or something with Orton also included at the Rumble, would be such a nice little shock just to be like, oh, it's a special event. But no, I'm with Shaun. I've gone with Cody via Orton interference, but then like literally as I was writing it down, I had this little ADHD moment of it's fantasy booking and it's more of a want than I think, but I'm like, Orton is currently out because of the pile driver, which all the AEW marks are like, that's not a pile driver, that's the weakest pile driver I've ever seen. Shut the fuck up.
Bet you they couldn't do one any better.
He hit the pile driver, which in the grand scheme of kayfabe for WWE was a massive moment. My little ADHD fantasy booking was, imagine KO pinning Cody with his package pile driver, just for the shock factor of this is a...
See, that would be cool.
And it would make all the sense in the world. It really would. Like, yeah, okay, why take Orton out with the pile driver? Like, okay, obviously the obvious conclusion is so Orton can come back and they can have a match. But why focus so heavily on the pile driver? Why wasn't it... He hasn't injured back. Why was... Like, and obviously maybe that's why they didn't do that particular thing, but it's like... Apron powerbomb, work the injured back. But no, they specifically went, here's this illegal move. Yeah. Why did they hit the illegal move if there's not going to be a payoff of he hits his trademark package pile driver for the first time in, how many years has he been in the company now? 10 years? For the first time in over 10 years, he hits that package pile driver to win the prize. Like, my brain's like, oh, I've talked myself into it. Like,
Kid, I think you might have with me because I can add to that now too. Because the next Saturday night main event is on January 25th, a week before the Royal Rumble. So if he takes Cody out with the package driver, Orton comes back for the next Saturday night main event against KO. Then the next week you have Rhodes versus Orton versus KO, where Cody can win it back.
Son of a bitch! I think I've just changed my own prediction.
I just want to hear Kevin Owens, so I don't even care.
So the next Sunday night main event is going to be taking place the same day as the actual TNA pay-per-view. That's interesting.
See, I like a longer heel like KO reign, but that still
But again,
sounds
for
so
the shock factor of... Because Cody, and this is what everyone keeps talking about, is I love Cody. Whether we get heel Cody or not, I'm not fussed. But he needs an edge and he needs something to just give him a little bit of aggressiveness.
Push.
Right? Yeah. So KO drops that sumbitch on his head. You're like, that's an illegal move. My father, Dusty Rhodes, would... No. no, but like, that's... I can... My brain is just telling me that while it's not up there, it's a strong possibility. Because I'm like, why else? Why was it the pile driver? I understand the neck is connected to the spine. Spine's connected to the lower back. But why specifically did KO not just work the back of Orton? Like, why was it the pile driver? They focus so heavy on, this is an illegal move, this is a banned move, and he's been suspended for X amount of weeks. And I think, you know what, fuck it. Kevin Owens is going to win. He's going to be a transitional champion.
I was right. No. He hasn't won yet, but I was right.
The next one's a lot easier for me, and I know Shaun, I think that he did disagree, because this is the one where Shaun was kind of looking at, even if it was transitional, have a title change. But straight up, I'm just going to say mine first, just because it's Gunther. I don't see it being anyone but Gunther.
I see as well.
But Shaun, you, spoiler alert, you said to me the other day, you said you were going with for Finn. Are you still on that? Are you still on that train, or?
Okay. So with this match, it's changed up a little bit, finding out with the next one being on the 25th, because I think we'll get the revenge. Priest is going to nail Balor, and Gunther's going to win the same way he beat Priest. Then at the next month, we can have the triple threat match where Balor wins the title. And then the Royal Rumble, Balor versus Gunther, and then Priest winning the Royal Rumble.
See, that literally just writes itself, though. He's just made this sound so easy.
Yeah. That actually sounds pretty good.
You should know this, though. Come Royal Rumble season, the creative side of me just gets so triggered that I can think of so many different ways that make sense.
I do love, though, and like when it comes to Rumble season and predictions, like maybe as it gets closer, like the way you say it sounds so simple, Priest wins the Rumble. But as it stands, it is so hard to see who's going to win that match.
Yeah.
Because with the two different titles, there is like so many different ways that either of them, and then like the Elimination Chamber's thrown smack bang in the middle of that. It's just, how good is Rumble season?
I just want the fairy tale of Big E coming back and winning.
See, I don't see Big E winning the Rumble, but I think that's another story.
I'd still love him.
It's going to be That's going to be the big feel moment.
Even if Big E isn't cleared, there's no way he's not eliminating them from the Rumble in some form or fashion. Like, even if like they try and do a Kofi-esque spot as heels, Big E like pops up and just fucking cuts them down so they fall over. They get egg on their face as heels. Woods is like trying to like hold Kofi. So
I like that.
Woods, literally, all Big E has to do is pop up out of the ring and just push him over. They're like, you're eliminated, bye.
So it's probably so basic, but I just want him to win so he can get the title back. Gets the title back, and then it's like they're like, who? And then they come.
Big E actually did have a pretty solid title run.
Yeah.
Especially compared to Kofi's reign. Just for them to be like, well, this has to change, so now Lesnar's the champion. Like,
yeah.
Honestly,
I felt like that was robbed. I was like, that's still
But
shit.
again, Big E is at that point where, especially after the injury, if he was to come back and get that title, like, whether it's off...
And then cause shit.
Like, it's completely left field, but could you imagine, like, Mania... Like, I know it's a different title, but Big E versus Gunther, just big meaty men slapping me.
So good.
Like, bro, Nova, why do you do this? Like, that's such a wrinkle of Big E versus Gunther. What the fuck? Where did that come from?
I have a different match for Gunther.
Oh man,
I'm not bad for a casual fan.
You're not.
Oh man. But I'm still sticking with Gunther. I think it has to be Gunther.
Yeah, it's going to be Gunther with Priest help, I think.
Yeah, that's my...
I could see that.
So, okay, we're all in agreement there. I just love how we're all like... Me and Shaun are like... Teak Nova, she was KO from the get-go, and as she said, it might have been more want than like thinking, but KO. It's KO. But I talked myself. I talked myself into that. I'm going KO now. So I think we all three of us just agreed on both of them now, somewhat.
Yeah.
This one again, though, I think Liv Morgan versus Io Shaun. Who have you got?
Liv.
Liv, yeah.
Liv, yeah.
I'm Liv as well.
I'm the same, and it's
because I just want more shenanigans with Rhea and Liv.
I think because it's so weird that they've because Damage Control as a whole are baby faces now.
Yeah.
Like. You can build up to this. And it could even be Kyrie or even a returning Asuka versus Liv at WrestleMania. I'd like Dakota personally. Like, I'm hoping she gets the women's IC now that she's advanced, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much.
See, for me, because of how long it's gone, it's almost as if Rhea and Liv has to happen at Mania now. It's just gotten that long and that big.
See, this is true, but does Liv then drop the title at fucking Elimination Chamber? Like, there's so many...
Yeah.
There's going to be a men's one, there's going to be a women's one. We just don't know which title or number one contendership or what it's going to be at this point, but I could see that being a possibility.
That's true.
Man. Okay, no, definitely Liv. I like that we all just went no. It's with all due respect to Io Sky, but I just...
Yeah.
I do have respect.
It's going to be a great match, I think, but I just think there's no world in which Liv dropped, at least before Rumble. She's not going to drop it before the Rumble. I was like, feel.
Yeah, no.
Even if she somehow drops it at the Rumble, I just.
And then the other perspective too, if you're going to have KO win the title, that's probably going to be. Everything else is probably just going to be as predicted type of thing.
Well, the thing is, with modern times of Saturday Night's main event, like, the heels have gone over here and there. Like, one that I forgot to mention was they had a Falls Count Anywhere match with Carly and Cena, where, like, Carly, like, decimated Cena and he did the chop and he fell from the top rope to the floor. Like, with a couple of those moments aside, they have been almost glorified house shows where it's been very babyface heavy. So I'm like, I feel like Liv as a heel needs to steal one here.
Yeah. I realize it's almost like superstars on steroids.
It really is, though.
Especially if you look at the match times for all the matches on there.
Because like, I go back to one of the ones that I mentioned, like that HBK Shawn Michaels thing, right? HBK Shawn Shane McMahon thing, where it ended with like the screw job ripoff, and it being like, oh my god, this show's actually ending on a heel note. It was like, oh my God, like it was just mind blowing. And I think that's why, because it's been such a babyface centric thing, like that we need. Imagine KO winning, like as a big heel, and that's how the show goes off there with everyone just going, what just happened?
This happened.
But I also did say there could even be a Dusty finish because, Dusty Rhodes, obviously, where looks like KO wins, then Cody retains, even just to test the waters of how would they react if this happened. Like, there's so many ways that one can go that, we just keep going back to it. But,
dude.
like, he cheats to win, Triple H goes, fuck you, we restart the match, Crossroads 1, 2, 3, like...
No. I can get my Broadway.
Again, as we do this, there's only 4 matches announced.
Yeah.
And I said with Cody and Gunther that it should have just gone an hour without announcing that it had a time limit because they haven't done it for so long. But KO and Cody going 60 minutes, and then it's just like even having it where KO's about to win. And then Cody retains as the babyface by a draw. For KO as a heel to be like, no.
2 count with the second left.
Yeah, like, dude.
Right at 2-0.
Please, someone.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's another thing. How many times do I say Broadway? Like, even on your fantasy post, Broadway.
But you know what? Actually, the funniest thing is, like, even though, like, you yourself are like, you don't listen to every episode, which is fine. Like, it's ADHD, it's an audio medium. Every Markapalooza we've had, you have contributed to. The most recent one we did, Shaun, you didn't vote on. We had a draw. We had a draw.
You got screwed over.
For one freaking time.
And I brought that up on air, and I was like, he's probably never going to listen to this episode, but...
Honest question, is it the one that I probably would have picked as the Broadway?
No, so it was Spider-Man versus Ricochet, which Nova Lee...
Dude, I would have put Broadway for that.
Nova Lee in her Vince Russo ass booking fucking mentality went, here's left field, rather than do like a ladder match or something crazy lucha, let's put them in a lumberjack match so they can't leave the ring, and if they do the flips, they're just going to get thrown straight back inside. So it was a lucha lumberjack match, and we couldn't pick a winner, and we're like, look, we'll flip a coin because both Nova and Kai had different winners of this match. So it was like, look, we'll flip a coin, heads and tails. That was another thing. The whole episode, Nova...
I got screwed over.
Nova got screwed by the coin every single
Nova
time.
Screw job.
The one time that after we were like, okay, let's just do this, I'm like, look, for the sake of the argument, let's flip a coin. And Nova landed on it, and she's like, son of a bitch. So she basically took a win away from herself. They're like, yeah, the one that landed it was a lumberjack match. And I'm like, well, it makes sense. It's not a Broadway. But if it was a real lumberjack match with modern times, everyone's going to run in. They're going to fucking cause chaos. The ref's going to be like, well, this is a no contest now because y'all have ruined it. So we still had a draw. And I was like, shout out to Shaun. The one time that he didn't vote, we had a draw.
And that most likely would have been the match probably.
But yeah, it was a clusterfuck lucha lumberjack. I don't even know if that's ever happened. Went to a draw. So you finally got your draw on a Markapalooza episode.
I like your thinking, Nova.
That's still not going to stop Shaun from the next one going Broadway.
Every single one.
But this next...
It would make so much sense for Cody to have a Broadway too.
And I was genuine. Like the way they did the finish with the bridge out of the choke into the quick 1, 2, 3 was done really well. But at the same time, I was genuinely hot when I woke up and was like, this match went 23. Before I even saw who won, I was like, the fact it didn't go at least half an hour. I was like, fuck this. I was like typical neckbeard. I was like, nah, this match didn't go the way I wanted it. So worst wrestling match ever, worst wrestling event ever. I was like, no, that match Gunther and Cody, like Gunther in that Rumble went over an hour. And like you could tell the story of he went an hour, took him going an hour and going through all these other people for Cody to throw him over the top rope. So surely it takes Cody an hour to either A, finally beat him with seconds left, or B, they're both just exhausted and neither of them become champion of champions. Like, but Cody and KO, okay, either KO has to win or it goes to a brawl. If Cody just retains within a span of 20 minutes, I think I'm going to have to break my TV. Break the TV.
Well, if you look at the times for the previous ones, you might be breaking your TV.
Yeah. But again, that's where, like, as you said, when you watch it in hindsight, it really was Superstars on steroids, because it's like, hey, here's this really entertainment segment, and then bell to bell, this match goes for 9 minutes, and you're like, when you were watching them, like, because obviously, again, I watched everything after the fact, but watching them, I guess, in real time for the first time, you're like, wow, but then you go back and rewatch it and you're like, oh, that's...
It's like, what? I'm like that with a lot of 80s wrestling. It's like, how?
But again,
how did this capture me?
It's the Hulk Hogan and even Ultimate Warrior once he started having proper matches. And the Goldberg even. Let's have this, 10-minute entrance of boom, 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 and then there's 10 minutes of posing afterwards, and you're like, this is the greatest match, and then you do the bell time, and you're like, I swear to God, I could be wrong, I swear Hogan and Goldberg went 7 minutes on Nitro, and I get that's not a pay-per-view, it's just television, but it was in that ballpark. I swear that entire segment is like 14 or 15 minutes from entrances.
You know what it
everything.
is? You know what it is, though? Like, when something's good, it doesn't feel as long as what it is. When it is bad, it feels longer than what it is.
But I can also... I'm very self-deprecating on this podcast and just in life in general. I've never once said that I was a great wrestler. I'll fight anyone that says I wasn't a great worker. That's another discussion. But, like, when you're out there... You're like, oh, yeah, 5 minutes has passed. And then, like, from entrances and everything included, Big James's debut match, like, from bell to bell, I think it was about 12 minutes. But with all the shenanigans, it was about 23 minutes. And for his first match, and me being the first match where I've, guided someone through a match, that's way too fucking long. And the fact that the promoter didn't reel that in, because I'm like, oh yeah, we weren't out there for that long. And then you watch the video and I'm like, even my debut, like the match I think was, 11 minutes bell to bell, but with entrances and everything included, went just over 20 minutes. And I was like, it felt like I was out there for 5 minutes. Like time just stands still. It's this weird thing. Like,
I can almost understand how you feel there, because like I remember when you debuted and that like not the childhood mark, that part came out of me. That's one of my favorite moments, even though I had to wait how long to see it.
Yeah, well, I remember when I finally, and it wasn't even the proper footage either. It was like the fucking balcony footage that we were just using for the monitor backstage, so we knew what was happening. But I was like, I have this link. It's not my. Although, if people do want to see it, the show is on the ICW YouTube channel with the proper cameras and everything. So, if you want to subject yourself to that, knock yourself out with proper angles and everything. It is now there. But like, I remember sending you that link, and you're like, I may or may not have just woke up Julian when you got tagged.
Oh, that tag! Oh yeah, man.
Like, it's like the young fella, and then like I remember just messaging me, and you're like, yep, okay. And I was like, I appreciate that. I really do.
It's different when you see it from the beginning to the debut, right? Like, I know there's physical distance, but we've been talking like how we talked since we've met. So I've seen you go right from the beginning right through.
Especially considering the original goal of that show was, I've got the clearance, I'm going to get to referee the main event of that show on my birthday, to then, you're not refereeing anymore. I'm like, that's fuck, man, I'm heartbroken. To a few weeks later going, hey, the reason you're no longer on the show as ref is because this is happening. And me messaging you going, hey, I have X amount of months notice, which is fucking unheard of, to be like, my first match is on my 23rd birthday and blah, blah, blah. And you just being like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
But the next match, none of us know what's going to happen here. There's, as we record this, the qualifying matches, I believe, will be on SmackDown the night before. So, again, this episode will drop at 12 p.m. Australian Daylight Time, which is what time SmackDown usually starts for us during that time period. We have Bayley versus Chelsea Green. And then we have Mia Yim / Michin versus Miss Money in the Bank herself, Tiffany Stratton. You have a theory about who's going to be in the final, Shaun. So I'll let you, as the guest, lay out your plan, and then Nova can piggyback off that. And then I'm going to have an existential crisis because the match that I booked for the actual final from the get-go is one of these qualifiers. So it's completely fucked me completely.
So for me, I'm always looking for the unpredictable, what would make the fans just, wow. So I'm having the finals as Chelsea versus Michin, just so we can get Miss Green her title that she finally deserves. And we'll also have history where a husband and wife have both been U.S. champions.
Yeah, you know what? You're onto something there. Because I think, as of now, are they the only husband and wife that have been tag champions as well? I don't think.
Oh, shoot.
Because obviously Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, former tag champion. I'm trying to rack my brain here on who the tag champions are.
Naomi?
Oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, I forgot Naomi was briefly... And obviously she's married to Jimmy Uso. Obviously the Usos will document. Oh, there you go.
Natty. Natty as well,
right.
I
Natty
think.
and Tamina were like tag champs for like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Glamazons.
Were Natty?
Oh, no, they weren't champions.
No, they weren't champions.
Natty,
No.
yeah, no.
They were in that match though, where the Iconics won at WrestleMania, which was really cool to see. But no, okay, well there you go. There's been a couple. It's the ADHD kicking in. But okay, so your point though. But first,
so yeah, you'll have your first women's U.S. champ, and then
that's still
something
pretty cool.
for Matt to have.
That's still pretty cool though. Like, not only is she be the first ever in general, but by proxy, the first ever husband and wife to have both held counterpart titles. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, Chelsea was my pick from the get-go, but I'll let Nova do her prediction now. But with the way that it's laid out now, I don't even see Chelsea in the final, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit because to your point, both Bayley and Tiffany are still recovering from War Games as well, so it wouldn't be out of the realm for both of them to lose. But what's your prediction here? You got Bayley versus Chelsea, Michin versus Tiffy.
So I'm kind of torn because I'd love Chelsea to win, but at the same time I see Bayley ticking that box off, like as in like she'd win against Chelsea and then probably go in and possibly win the whole thing. But
to her credit, first ever women's Grand Slam champion.
Yeah, she
longest
ticks
time in a rumble for a woman. Fucking, she deserves it, no doubt.
So I could see that happening at the
Grand
same
Slam
time.
+1.
But I also feel like Bayley's too predictable. But at the same time,
I feel like it is, but I feel like they could do it. I feel like they could do it because it is so predictable. They're like, oh shit, like I didn't see this coming because I really thought about this coming. You know, like reverse, like.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go on a tangent here.
Yeah,
but something that shits me, and I'll just gloss over it, is when people say this match stuck or this story stuck because it was predictable. Yeah. Predictability in wrestling, like for me, it's all about going along that journey, right? So if Bayley comes through this grueling tournament, especially on the other side of War Games, really she has established herself. Nova and I have said this on the pod multiple times, Shaun, and I think I've even said it to you, was when Bayley was on that heel run, I literally said, I never want to see Bayley as a babyface again. Yep. But she turned so naturally and organically that this would really, like that Mania win after winning the Rumble, kind of dipped off, coming out of War Games, this would solidify her place as a very strong babyface. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be mad. But yeah, I'm just like, that was my point. Was when people say it's predictable, that's stupid. No, I don't think being predictable, I don't think is a bad thing.
There's arguments for all four of them to win it. Well, there really is.
Even Mia.
And when you can't,
she's been fired,
if you can say,
like,
yeah, she's a workhorse. You need her, she's there.
This is her, could be a major redemption for her, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon it's going to be Bayley versus Tiffy.
Bayley versus Tiffy?
And I think there's going to be, shenanigans and shit. And I could even see that later down the track, she actually cashes back in on Bayley as to build, some psychology behind it all. So Bayley would win, and then, because Tiffany's had friction with her, something's happened in the match, I don't know, or something's gone on where she's kind of like, this is bullshit. And it's kind of later on, Bayley's having a match against someone else for the title, and then she's just gone, screw y'all, and cashes in.
Well, I was just saying to Nova a few days ago, Shaun, when we were watching War Games, and they once again teased the cash in. This year for Tiffy, this is the most that they've actually done those teasers in quite a long time, which I've really enjoyed. But I was like, so my prediction originally was I wanted Bayley and Chelsea in the finals, but I don't see how Bayley's not in that final. I think she's at least deserved the right to say she was in the match. But I think it's Bayley versus Tiffy. And again, this is more want than think, but it's overriding me. The mark in me is coming out and I'm letting it to. Tiffy becomes the first US champion. Tiffy then cashes in on Nia and becomes a double champion as a strong babyface.
See, I could see that happening.
But at the same time, as you're talking, what if Bayley... both the US and IC titles now open new possibilities of titles that Tiffy could cash in on, which is great. But
could Nia come out and fuck it up?
Accidentally, she tries to help Tiffy win the US title, costs her the match. Bayley gets the new championship. Hey, hooray for her. Tiffy flips, fucking smashes her with the briefcase, cashes in, wins the women's title.
I can't remember because of ADHD, but didn't some friction or something happen between Tiffy and Nia actually at Survivor Series?
There's been friction for weeks because there have been teasers of
and I'm like,
which one are you cashing in on?
That could push Nia over the edge to do something deliberate to force her to lose
so
it.
Either way, but I'm like, could you imagine that of Bayley wins the US title, Nia's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. She just fucking cracks her with that briefcase.
Yeah.
Referee's still standing there. Yeah. Hey, fuck it, ring the bell. And then all of a sudden, Bayley and Tiffy are both standing there holding titles.
Something else could even happen where, because I still want Chelsea to eventually have it if she doesn't win it to begin with. You could even have something with her and friggin' Bayley happens in the preliminaries before you even get to that point. And then it's later down the track, it's happening. And then it becomes a freeway somehow with Tiffy cashing in there. Or there's so many different ways. Nia
or Tiffany sabotaging Bayley just because they're that so far up this feud with her.
Yeah. There's so many different ways this could go.
I honestly, my final, I think it's going to be Tiffy. Whether or not she becomes a double champ, I don't know, but you could even imagine, right, this has never happened before. Tiffy loses to Bayley. Bayley's the first ever champion. Tiffy just attacks her and cashes in, takes the title anyway.
I kind of thought that could happen, but then I'm like, psychology's telling me no, she's too beat up from the match / beat up from War Games that wouldn't happen, but it could.
Because the title's vacant. There's no champion's advantage. Yeah. What if Tiffy even gets herself disqualified with the briefcase? By proxy, Bailey is the first ever champion because there's no champion's advantage, but it's weakened her enough to bang, hit the moonsault, cover, 1, 2, 3. She's not the first ever, but Bailey has the first ever and shortest reign ever for that championship. Like there is my brain is just oh goddamn.
I like that finish.
But dude, my prediction, I think it is Tiffy. I think somehow, some way, Tiffy pulls it out because I think that tease of her, she's like, oh, I'm gonna. She teased like, and she's meant to be a heel, blatantly saying that, oh, on New Year's Evil, I'm gonna cash in on the NXT Women's Champion, like left field. And I even messaged Shaun while watching Deadline, and I was like, don't you fucking dare, because it has to be on Naya. But imagine they're double champs, right? You have Naya as women's champ, like Tiffy as US champ. They do that for a couple of weeks to a month, right? Naya tries to help Tiffy retain it. Accidentally costs her. She says, well, fuck you. I'll just take yours then.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different ways. And all, again, to Shaun's credit, all 4 of these women, like,
yeah, not counting out Michin at the same time because, like you said.
But then my original thing of if Chelsea Green doesn't win, like even before they announced who was in the tournament, I was like, Chelsea better fucking be in this tournament. She better.
I feel like she's been there and she's gone through the shit that she deserves a fucking title at the same time.
Why is this match the hardest one to pick? Honestly, brilliant though. Brilliant.
This would pop me though if she did win against Michin, right? Oh, not Michin, against Bailey, right? Chelsea won against Bailey because they're pals with fucking TNA now. She comes out to her old fucking theme song. You just hear fucking Hot Mess go, and then you're like, oof.
Well, she even made some reference to that where she's like, she's like, even when I was a hot mess, I was having like more success than this and da-da-da-da. And there was like a little ad-lib in one of those backstage segments.
Imagine? That'd still be cool.
I'm like, okay. I would love to see that version of her character in WWE.
Yeah.
And we're still, because she's still with Piper as well, though. Piper is still there.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, is that how Piper and Chelsea finally split? Because Chelsea wins, she goes
crazy with power and becomes the hot mess. Like, I can see that happening too.
Piper turns babyface. There's a built-in feud. I don't know. I'm going Tiffy. I'm saying Tiffy. My opinion may change, but just so I don't drag this out anymore, because this is going to be a 2.5 hour episode as it is. But I just no.
I might have to change my opinion on Friday.
So Shaun's sticking with Chelsea.
Oh, I'm sticking with Chelsea. Yeah,
you're sticking with Chelsea.
I'm sticking with Bailey. I think Bailey, but I could see some stuff happening if Chelsea was to win as well.
So this is the only one we've disagreed on. And it'll be interesting to see what does, or I guess if we get our Broadway, let's put it out in the universe, what does or doesn't get added. Because obviously they've been teasing the one-on-one with Braun and Ludwig. They've been teasing another one-on-one with Braun and Sheamus just because that didn't end clean, but then Sheamus was pinned at War Games. So, and then obviously LA Knight apparently. I thought they did away with fucking automatic rematches, but something was said about LA Knight wanting his rematch against Shinsuke, so could be anything. And then obviously, I still haven't watched it yet, but DIY, Johnny Gargano turning heel and his longtime friend Alex Shelley. There could be a tag rematch made this coming week. Like,
so when I say that WWE deserves an honorary Emmy, with that tag story on Friday, that's the reason why. Everything that led up to that moment, right to the win, that was beautifully told.
I honestly, 100%, like with the major promotions of like New Japan and AAA, CMLL, like AEW, why not have a sports entertainment character and just factor in all of those promotions? Because why not?
Yep.
Like the
real feeling stories are the best.
Like the one they did with Cody when they teamed the Bad Blood was phenomenal, but that CM Punk one that they just did with Punk and Roman was, And obviously they did shoot it in a cinema style, but that was pure cinema. That was fantastic.
Exactly what I said to you after I saw it. Sent you the clip in cinema.
Because I didn't watch that full show, but I watched that clip and I was just like, oh. And Nova watched it with me and was just like, where did that come from? Like, they didn't even say that they were going to have a face-to-face. It was just like, Punk's going to be on SmackDown. And all of a sudden, they're doing like a Godfather-esque thing of, he's late. And then Punk walks in, I don't have much time. Well, it's a good thing you showed up late. Like, oh, dude. So I think we literally agreed on all of them in the end. Because I originally said Cody, talked myself into KO, and in the process, kind of talked Shaun into it, but then there's like the Broadway's there. But the other one we really disagree on is that Woman's US. That's...
Yeah.
I will say, though, shout out to Shaun. Yay! Whoop.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to press that
Double
twice.
clap.
I didn't mean to press that twice. Of all the things, because I checked every social media page that was Australia adjacent news site. I didn't think to just type it into Google. Shaun typed in how to watch Saturday night's main event in Australia, which took us to an Instagram post from 5 days ago, which just got buried amongst everything on the Australian WWE page saying, yes, we will get it on YouTube as well as the UK. So we're going to be watching it live on YouTube, which is great because YouTube...
And I don't know where I'm watching it.
Yeah, I'm genuinely shocked. Like, as I said, my best bet was I'm just going to put the WWE channel on and hope it's on that channel.
No, but dude, I'm Canadian.
Not advertising it. Like, what the fuck?
I'm Canadian, and I found yours within 2 seconds. I tried to find mine, and there's no information whatsoever. And yet again, it's not being advertised on the streaming provider. Yeah, so it's like, what the hell?
We were just like, even on like Twitter/X, they hadn't said jack shit even about some of the matches for Saturday night's main event. It was just like, oh yeah, like even today, they're just like resharing clips from SmackDown this past week. They're like, wow, such and such was on fire. But it's like looped in between like all these other stuff of, man, yesterday at Deadline this happened, and it's like Deadline, SmackDown, Deadline, SmackDown. I'm like, what the fuck is the admin of this page doing? Give me your job, please.
Oh my gosh.
The Instagram page does seem to be a lot more organised than the X page. So if the Instagram page does say 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm still going to double check it just in case. But man, whoever runs that X account I don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing out random shit going, hey guys, tune in, watch WWE. Yay, wrestling.
This might be the time. It might not be the time. Who knows?
That's why I literally just go to the official socials and they're like, oh, well, like for Survivor Series, it's like it started at whatever time, local Vancouver time. And I'm like, okay, into the Google machine we go. Let's convert the time here.
Vancouver's 3 hours behind me.
And I'm glad you told me that because you're like, Survivor Series starts early as well because I was flipping out about SmackDown starting early. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay. Started 2 hours earlier than it should have. Thank you, Shaun. My God. I love how it was just like, Shaun was just like, oh, let's do it because of Saturday night's main event. How many years did you say it's been since like that first... You say 35 or 36 6 years?
38.
30, my God.
38 on January 4th. I know the exact date now.
Same age as my brother.
Yeah, so originally it aired...
I'm 41.
So you guys must have got it on like a 1 day delay then, because when you look up this cage match, it says that it aired on the 3rd. So... I
thought it said the 4th.
Oh, I've written down the 3rd. Maybe I wrote a typo, but yeah, it was January 1987, filmed December 1986. So this man has been watching wrestling 8 years longer than I've been alive, which does make sense because there is the 11-year age gap, which does not feel like that a lot of the time when we're talking about like, man, remember when Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior did this? Like, because that's just my favorite era. I don't know what it is, but I just freaking love it so much. Like some of it's, we when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, it's kind of hokey, but that's the stuff I like. Like the golden era where you had, Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect and Macho Man Randy Savage and Bobby the Brain Heenan, to me, is still the greatest talker of all time, and Jake the Snake Roberts, Jesse Ventura, and I'm like, it's
real
just,
feeling characters.
I sound like such a hipster because I'm the same with my music. Like 80s rock is where I go back to, late 70s as well. And I'm just like, I was born 10 years too early, and it's like 10 years too late. And it's like, yeah, okay, calm down, hipster. Put the latte down. It's fine. But no, I feel like
oh my gosh.
The funny thing is we've been ranting for 2.5 hours and we've still barely scratched the surface on your favorite wrestlers and just moments in general. Like we've got some of the matches and that, but 38 years. Well, I mean, I suppose no time like now. You even said, you're like, fuck it, let's just do it. It marks the anniversary. It's Saturday Night's Main Event. They're bringing it back.
It
just happens to be that same event.
Because I saw the December 14th part, but I didn't see that it had an air date. So with Saturday Night Main Event being on December 14th, and if that was the first day that I saw wrestling, like, what's a better time to do it, right?
But I mean, look, it's,
it still works.
3 weeks removed. It's just crazy that of all the times they're bringing it back on the like this show is on December 14th, right? So yeah, because it's 15th for us.
Yeah.
So it's literally
on the day it was taped.
39 years.
Yep, it'll be 39 years.
So the match of the week this week, although it aired first week of January, when it was filmed, the 39 years. God,
38.
God damn.
It is 38. This is 38.
38 sorry, 39 years of the first Saturday Night's Main Event. That's getting confused because it was November, December 85. So that's crazy. 39 years.
Yeah.
And yet somehow, even though I wasn't born, I've managed to go back and squeeze all of this stuff in.
That's what I mean. I forgot a lot of crap. Like, talking tonight has like popped up some memories of things that I forgot, like Shane and Kane in a house show in a cage match, like just stupid things like that. Well, not stupid, but things like that. Little glimpses of memories. It's like, holy crap! Remember when?
I think now that you've come on the show and we've ranted for 2.5 hours, I think we'll have to get you back on at some point and just pick a topic or era or something and be like, let's just break A, B, and C down, because
I just think Shaun should have his own Markapalooza episode. I'd be here for that.
I even said to Shaun, I was
like,
with the DC one, if we can't get Kai to like do the full format of it's rapid fire, write down a selection of wrestlers and heroes, and obviously have backups in case someone picks it. But we literally did it like a rumble where there's 3 of us, so 2 of us got 1 and 2. That left the third person with number 30, so we all did call spots, and we literally just went, this person enters, and we literally kept going until we had all 30 people, and then we all each pick someone for the final 4, and then we debate who would make the final 4. Okay, who would be eliminated first? And then we literally debated of who wins, and I feel like that would be right up Shaun's alley of just, no, Lex Luthor's going to kill this wrestler because of A, B, and C, but this wrestler...
Well, if you're giving me, if I have to go Lex Luthor, then I'm picking something that'll kill him instantly. Sorry.
Same. Fuck that guy.
Definitely.
We have a stare off between Lex Luger and Lex Luthor.
Especially like, I think it was the Dark Side of the Ring that we watched, and it went into the stuff about Elizabeth, and I'm like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me cancelled, but still. Lex Luger has been a victim of karma.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? Fuck it. There's number 5. F-word it. I can say it. F-word Luger and his freaking giving Miss Elizabeth all the fucking drugs that he did that killed her. Fuck him.
It's like, look, Liz did have to take accountability, but he was feeding her those pills. But
that's it, right? Like, I'm sorry.
For the sake of it, though, for the sake of it, I kind of want Lex Luger and Lex Luthor in the ring at the same time, just because it sounds funny.
Sorry if you can't use that.
No, it's fine. If you're comfortable with me putting that out there,
Oh, I definitely am. I don't care. You know I don't care.
Man.
If I said it, I mean it.
But no, I think now that we've had you on for this long, and this is worth noting before we wrap it up, this is the first time I've actually talked to Shaun through like a voice call in the 12 years that I've known him, I think.
I'm going to up you even one there. Out of all that group I told you about, you're the first one that I've talked to on the phone.
So you guys feel special now.
But you know why, and I'm sure somebody's going to mention it, and I don't care. Say something about my voice. Go ahead.
The funny thing is, like, I've worked with people that have like moved here from Canada, and even after they've been in Australia for X amount of years, your accent still is nowhere near as thick as some as theirs are.
Yeah, some of my friends are like that too. I'm like, yeah, it's actually not that thick, dude. It's actually...
Without giving away personal information, one of them actually dated a guy that I went to primary school with in a completely different town. So, how's that for a small world? But she walked in and she's like, "Hi, my name is such and such," and I was like, "You're Canadian," and she was just like, "How the fuck did?" She's like, "A lot of people think I'm, from an American region, but she's like, how did you straight up go Canada?" And I was just like,
You know what it is? I hate our accent so much too, so I try to avoid it as much as possible.
You did drop an A, but unfortunately that was before we actually went on air, so...
Good, thank you.
I'll just clip like that.
I know I dropped a couple, but I hate that word. But it's a contagious word.
All I think of is the Miz promo. Golly gosh, Bret Hart is performing tonight in Canada, eh?
He's out and about.
The self-proclaimed Canadian hero.
All I'll say is I do want a Calgary Hitmen jersey. That's as far as I'll go. It's as far as I'll go with Bret Hart. And I'm sorry, High Octane. I love you like a brother. I know he's your favourite wrestler, but Bret's good, Bret. Anyway. It's been 27 years since that happened this year, which is... That's the thing. But I think it's what? It's like 10:30 coming on to 11 p.m. your time, Shaun. So I should probably wrap this up. Is there anything at all? I know, like, your social medias is only your personal stuff, so we don't have any of that to plug. But is there anything at all you wanted to plug or hype up, perchance?
You?
Go support John Crossfire.
Yeah, support Crossfire. Support indie wrestling. Support Nova.
Yay!
Support Hellfire.
Nova Lee does have a t-shirt now on my stores, and it's one of the best ones that I've made, which pisses me off. I do this.
I still need to actually buy one myself.
I do this all the time though, where I've made like a few entrance videos now, Nova included. I look at the one that I've done for myself, and I kind of want to redo it now because it looks so shit to like the 4 or 5 that I've done for other people. But I think that's just how I am as a person.
Do you have any hats left?
I have 2 hats left. Technically 3 because there's one in my bag somewhere. So I had 2 where like one was in my wrestling bag and then there was one I had for everyday use. There was this little kid. He was adorable. He wanted to win the raffle. We had like so many different prizes. The very last prize, like after 20 minutes of raffle, this little kid got like I'm trying to think of the word. Oh, fuck, it's not oh my God. What's the word?
Like door prize or something? Or
no, like what's the word? Like where it's like the second best prize, like the... It starts with a C. Yeah, but like the
complimentary or something?
Complimentary is kind of where I'm going. I will literally think of the fucking word after we stop recording. But he got like the... It's not
consolation?
Consolation. I was thinking compensation. This kid got like the consolation prize of consolation prizes like throughout the 4 or 5 things we gave out. And he was like, please, please, please. And he's got his ticket and he's showing me his number. and I pulled it out and I just turned it and I showed him before I even announced it on the microphone to everyone else. And he like, I don't know what the Toyota ads are like elsewhere, but in Australia we got the ones where they jump in the air and they're like Toyota and they kick their legs in the air. He full like Toyota jumped in the air and was like, yes, like slid across the floor, like on his knees, the wood floor. And I was like, you know what? I literally took my Crossfire hat off and I was like, you know what, bud? Because that's what I was drawing the tickets out of. I literally just like threw the tickets on the floor and I was like, take the hat. Like, this is for you. I'll sign it after the show. But no, I have one in my bag, but I have two left in the actual merch box.
Can you keep one for me? Because I can't wear the one you signed for me, and the other one after 2 winters and 2 summers in the middle of the bush, it's kind of done.
Too easy. I shall do that for you, and we can.
Thank you.
We can sort it out. I will do that. But I appreciate
some little kids to mark out on it again.
I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on again and tonight, Shaun. And as I said, I've been trying to get you to do it for so long. And look, for someone that has a podcast and does play-by-play commentary, I hate the sound of my own voice. I don't know how I managed to do this. I'll have to trim back through this just so I can bleep out you saying your son's name, just because I don't want to reveal personal information about you. But
you don't have to. That's okay.
Because I know
you're not going to get much info on that.
Because on socials, I know usually we just say Jay, so I was just like, oh, it's fine. Okay, cool. But no, I do appreciate you coming on, man, and we'll have to chat more often, man, like and game and stuff. Like once my eye gets better, like I've said to you, like I hate Fortnite. I'm like, I'll play Fortnite just so I can play with you.
That's freaking awesome.
But I think we'll let you go, man. I'm so sorry.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for coming on.
And I apologise to you, Nova, because, again, we've been talked over so many times.
This is the first time you guys have literally got to talk, so that's why I'm just there like, I'll just be over here.
And although we did the intro with Shaun on air, because we just wanted to point out that he picked it, we do have to plug a couple of shows in the outro. So I'll let Shaun go and enjoy his evening. Probably crash out because it's late as fuck.
No, I'm awake. It's only 11.
It's 2:45, so we'll have some sort of late lunch. But just thank you so much for coming on, dude, and just marking out. And as I said, I'll find something else to get you back on for. Because this was, honestly, I've enjoyed this.
I did too, actually. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Thank you very much, my dude.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Okay.
See you, man.
Good night, Nova.
Bye, good night.
Alrighty, that was Shaun Johnson, as I've dubbed him, because he's just such a mark for The Rock, as we heard in this conversation. Obviously, we did the intro basically with him, just because we wanted to just kind of pop him with the song of the week, just to make sure that he heard it, and then the match which he himself chose. But I'm gonna try and wrap this up. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes. But yeah, as always, I love that Shaun, when I was like, "Did you have anything to plug?" Like, just you never know. You might have been working on a children's book or something like that. That's a thing that people do. Cheap plug myself. No, I just love that when we were like, "Hey, you have anything to plug?" He shouted out CIC Pod and John Crossfire and Nova Lee. So yeah, go support those guys. And if you want to support those guys, you can do it at Patreon. As little as $5 a month to get early access. $3 US. I don't know what it is in Canadian.
Stealing my
It's Rogue.
It's how much, Nova?
$5
reduce.
$5 reduce for the Rogue tier. $10 for the Essential tier. $15 for the Real Main Event tier. $20 for
the Supernova tier.
Supernova, baby.
Well, the is it Supernova?
It's called, it's just Supernova.
Yeah,
Supernova.
Yeah, that's
One
right.
word.
And then I keep going,
Supernova, baby. It was the mad theme song that was made by Forever Damned, a.k.a. Samuel. Maybe one day you'll get to use it. You were meant to use it this past weekend as we record this, but unfortunately your head from the storm was not in a good spot. But neither here nor there. The links are there for the Patreon in the link tree, both of our link trees. They also contain all of the social medias for yourself, the Essential Journal, Crossfire, Rogue, The Fire, which I don't even know what's happening with that right now after the actions of Big James and Barry Blake at Central West. But yeah, it's all there. Nova's is all there. The Amazon wish list, it's Christmas. 'Tis the season of giving. The Pro Wrestling Tees is there. I am in the process of culling a bunch of designs, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully by the time this episode drops, I'll have more info. I'm going to give a week or two's notice before I disable them, but I've got a rough idea of some of the ones that I'll be getting rid of, but I'm going to go through there properly and just tidy it up a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to cost me money, but I'm going to try to actually make the pod stuff a separate store just so that it's not as oversaturated. I'm doing my best, but again, stay tuned for all of that. But yeah, everything's there. Everything's there. Give us your money. As I record this, I'm leaving tomorrow, as we said in the conversation. By the time this episode airs, hopefully I'll have 2 more stitches out of my eyeball. But I think straight up, Nova, if you want to give the song and match of the week, I'll plug the two shows we've got to plug in terms of tickets, and let's get out of here. But just thank you again for Shaun for coming on. And I'm the first person in 12 or 13 years of all these friendships to actually talk to on the phone because he's conscious about his accent. Honestly, I don't think it was that bad. I just love that. Obviously, it was off air, so you guys didn't hear it. But the moment he answered, we've notoriously had technical issues with some of our guests, Nova, and straight away the phone rang, and I got hello in a very thick Canadian accent, and it scared the shit out of me because it came through so clear in my headphones, and I was not expecting it to sync as well as it did because usually we have problems. But song, match, plug the shows, get the F word out of here. I love that he was counting every time that he dropped an F-bomb.
So your song and match of the week for episode 142 is, your song is Road Hammer by the Roadhammers, and your match is Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff. Did I say that right?
Yes, Orndorff. Orndorff?
Yes. At a steel cage match at SNME, so Saturday Night Main Event, January 3rd, 1987.
Filmed December 14th, 1986.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which, again, 38 years exactly from the day they'll be having the show this weekend, which is kind of cool. 38 years and then 39 years all up of the first show, which happened in 1985. But, yeah, as Shaun said, I'd completely forgotten about them restarting the match after the draw. So now I'm sad because I remembered differently, and I guess nostalgia's a hell of a drug. But with that being said, if you want to see some current wrestling, some great wrestling, then on December 28th, you can get your tickets to MXW No Regrets. It's there. The link is below. And then at the start of the year, WrestleFest number 2, a 2-night event, also MXW, February 28th, March 1st. They have a huge 2 nights lined up. The winner, which was just determined for the All For One Rumble, will be challenging on night 2. Go back and watch the All For One Rumble now on YouTube to see who won that match. That's I've given away a lot of spoilers for other stuff, so go watch that. Misfortune, of course, who cashed in the All For One contract from the previous All For One event. It's kind of funny, the 2 All For One winners clashing in the main event of WrestleFest on night 2. And I believe it's at Geelong. So yeah, go suss that out. And then also in March, on March 8th, tickets are not released yet, but I believe, I don't know if it's going to be the first show, but as the first show announced for ICW for next year, March 8th, Insane Asylum. We start the year, it makes sense to start the year with Insane Asylum, end the year with Clash. Start it with a bang, end it with a bang. But we have one match already announced for that ICW show, Nova Lee. We have Apex Anderson, who lost the ICW Australian Championship, by the way. Maybe there was a bit of shenanigans, but Zack Striker, your new Aussie champion, along with Rogue, being your new tag champs.
You're new!
Look, I'm not happy. Look, I may have had a hand in stacking the deck with Rob as the referee. I don't like that it was so one-sided and that Zack's victory is tainted with that return to sender, but that's neither here nor there. And I quit Match Nova. Rob Messenger coming out of retirement for one match against Apex Anderson. Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
I just like to say, I don't give a fuck. I'm just happy that Rogue's getting some gold.
Absolutely, honestly. Aussie champions, tag champions. A little bit of an attitude from Jackson Thornhill, but hopefully we'll deal with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, tickets not on sale yet, but please keep an eye out for all of the details. All tickets will be $10. Just $10. And if you came to Clash in the Capital, which if you didn't, shame on you, but if you did, they actually got a voucher, Nova, for 50% off tickets. So,
They did.
$5 tickets to
At
those
the
lucky
door
few.
only.
Yes, those lucky few. They had a little thing. $5 tickets at the door. Pretty cool. But with that being said, I don't want to fiddle fart around. It's a 2 hour and 40 minutes. We crammed a lot, considering this man has been a wrestling fan for 38 years and some of the side quests we went on as per usual. But thank you for Shaun for coming on. I cannot wait to have him back on. And I do apologise again to you, Nova, for talking over you more. I know I do that a lot, but I talked over you a lot more than usual in this episode. I do sincerely apologise. Love you very muchly, but...
I just realised I didn't get to do my proper ring announcing for Shaun.
That was the awesome Shaun Johnson. Shaun, how do you do this evening?
I want to do it properly, though.
Okay, you can do it now. You'll be like, ladies and gentlemen...
On my claps.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was...
From the Great White North, he is the awesome Shaun Johnson!
I'm just kidding. I didn't really need to press that. But, no.
I had to do it. I didn't get to do it at the start.
But no.
I was thrown off.
Thank you again, Shaun,
Thank you for coming
on. I am the essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Novalee.
And you were just caught
In conversation, shakalaka and titty sprinkles.